And that's America, and that's like what we are able to do in America, and you can't do it everywhere else. So that's.
And it really is, for better or worse, America is a nation founded on ideals, and the extent to which we have betrayed those ideals over the decades and corrupted those ideals, that is a whole conversation. But even just the fact of being a nation where we wrote our own rules, that was extremely radical at the time. And I feel like people kind of forget that.
Yeah, that is true. All right, so we're going to take a break so that you can read a little bit from your book, and then we'll chat some more after.
Great. I turned on the TV just to feel less deathly alone. Sally Jesse Raphael was hosting a debate between Christians and witches. A woman with white hair and a foreign accent was trying to explain that she didn't, in fact, worship Satan. "I'm sorry I'm not evil enough for you, Sally. The truth is that witches worship nature. Nature is a force." A bald man representing the Christians of America interrupted her. "There are no morals in nature. An earthquake has no morals. You can't live in harmony with an erupting volcano. I don't want to go back to the jungle. Mankind has been trying to arise from the natural order." To which the witch responded, "No, no, no. If there is no jungle, there is no air. You can go around in your concrete structures, but there will be no air." "You stupid, stupid hippie," I muttered. She thought she could just go on TV and explain that she was a nice person and everyone would understand. But no one wanted to believe her. For some reason, they wanted to believe in Satan. They were the Satanists. I flipped through the channels, but it was like the entire world had checked into a mental institution. A violent fever dream of a commercial filled the screen. A giant anthropomorphic pitcher of Kool-Aid crashing through a cement wall like a wrecking ball, before turning into a boombox playing loud atonal music to see-through people with Kool-Aid running through their veins like blood. "Jesus," I said to no one. I snapped the TV off, but still felt tense and afraid, as if the Kool-Aid man could come crashing through the wall at any moment and I'd die a blood-red Kool-Aid death. I pictured myself 6 months in the future, locked in a bunker, every creak and squeak the portent of a murderous intruder. I wanted the house to feel safe again. I wanted my mother. I imagined the sadness on her face if she knew my mind was collapsing into such a paranoid spiral. "Fear is natural," I was sure she would say. "Fear is good. Fear is the universe whispering in your ear, I want you to survive."
Now, you have written a couple of other teen books before this, so what made you have the jump into something adult?
I really just felt, it feels like very personal for me. I really just feel like I grew up. I feel like I was a teenager. I had a protracted teenagedom, and suddenly around age 33, I felt I'm grown up now. I'm ready to write from the point of view of an adult, not the point of view of a teen. I feel like I more relate to an adult point of view, whereas previously I'd related more to a teen point of view.
Oh, well, yeah, that's actually a really cool answer to say. That's well thought out.
So I'm not sure if I'll ever go back to YA, because I'm just like, I feel like I'm grown up now.
I won't tell any of my friends who write teen books. It's okay if they can manage to still live there. That's fine.
No, it really is. I don't mean to say that as an insult to YA writers, because I love the things I wrote for YA, and I feel like it is really valuable to have talented writers who are still in that very teen headspace, so that teens can relate to it.
Yeah, I still read a wide range of everything. I was a children's librarian for many years, so I still read quite a bit of teen, less children's now, but quite a bit of teen. There's just such great quality, out there that there's fantastic things to see. Now, what are you working on now, or are you working on something now?
It's been a struggle. I spent the last 1.5 years writing the first 100 pages of 3 books in a row that I then just had to put in a death folder. So, you know, I think I've hit on something now. I don't want to say too much about it, but I feel like fourth time's the charm, and I have that feeling again where I'm like, this is it. I'm not just kind of wasting my own time. I'm not just, you know, goofing off. This is it. So I am excited. But I think it's going to be another sort of historical fiction, but recent history.
Okay. So that's just.
I think I'm going to go to the 70s.
Ooh, the 70s. and as somebody who spent some quality time in the 80s, like I have to say that it was very fun for me to like have all the references, because you do have a lot of specific references, and like just the part you read with Sally Jesse Raphael, I was just like, oh, Sally Jesse.
Oh yeah, I mean that selection I read is from a real Sally Jesse Raphael episode that I found on YouTube. And I thought the episode was so perfect. I was like, I don't need to change this. I just want to show what really happened on this Sally Jesse Raphael episode.
Wow, that's extra cool now that I know that was a real episode. I was not expecting that it was actually, you know, because that could have just been pulled out of anywhere.
And because this story is so sensational and so many wild things happen, it was really important to me to ground it as much as possible in the reality of the media landscape that was occurring at the time.
All right, cool. I can certainly remember the Kool-Aid ads.
Yep.
All that stuff too. So I always have an important question that I ask everyone, which is, do you have the library card?
Oh, of course, of course, of course. The library in my tiny town is only open 2 days a week, 3 hours each day. It's a very small town, but it's a wonderful library, and I, of course, have a library card. Librarians, teachers, they are the glue of society at this point. Libraries are a sacred space. You know, they're so important. So absolutely.
All right. Good. Well, that's what I want to hear. That's the kind of answer I want to hear. Well, it has been fantastic chatting with you. Thank you so much for coming down today and having this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, continued good luck with Rainbow Black
and
working on your newest one.
Great, and thank you to all your viewers.
All right, yeah, thank you so much. So thank you for joining us today with a novel idea, and please check back soon for our next episode. See you next time.
special town meeting is in session. To honor the work that our service members do for our country every day, our invocation will be read by Garrett Moulton, who devoted 16 years and 2 overseas tours during his service with the United States Air Force out of Barnes National Guard Base in Westfield, Massachusetts. He has resided in Long Meadow since 2019 with his wife, son, and daughter. After his military service, he started his own veteran-owned business, 180 Construction, where he specializes in residential construction for his local community. Please help me welcome Garrett Moulton.
Good evening, everyone. We had a really nice speech put together here by Rebecca. So we have come together in a civil assembly as a community in a tradition that is older than our Commonwealth itself. We come together to make decisions about our community. As we deliberate, let us advocate for our positions, but not at the expense of others. Let us remember that there is an immense gap between saying I am right and saying I believe I am right, and that our neighbors with whom we disagree are good people with hopes and dreams as true and as high as ours. And let us always remember that in the end, caring for each other in this community is far greater importance than any difference we may have.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Garrett. I now call Travell Jackson to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Travell is a sophomore at Long Meadow High School and a player on the basketball and volleyball team. He is also one of 3 Long Meadow representatives in the District Attorney Youth Advisory Board. We will have a moment of silence afterwards. For those who are able and wish to do so, please rise. Travell?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please kindly remain standing and offer a moment of silence for those, to both remember and honor those service members who have sacrificed for our country. Thank you. Really appreciate your help. And thank you. I'm excited that Travell is also one of our town meeting volunteers this evening, serving double duty. Appreciate your help, Travell. I welcome you to town meeting, our town's legislative body. To any first-time voters and any visitors, thank you. We're glad you're here. And I give you a special welcome. I have some general housekeeping announcements and rules of procedure to mention before our deliberation on motions on the warrant articles. If, in the unlikely event, a fire alarm sounds or there's any other emergency, the exits are clearly marked at each entrance. Should you need a hearing assistive device, inform one of the volunteers who are standing with town meeting volunteer lanyards on, or somebody at the clerk's desk, and we shall loan you one. As you know, visitors must sit in the designated section. Children may sit with parents or guardians. And should we need to hear from any other non-voters with expertise or specialized knowledge before town meeting, I give prior permission to some non-voters to speak. Town department heads, directors, and the superintendent of schools may speak on matters pertaining to their departments. The following non-voters have received prior permission to speak. From Fiber Spring, Sean Fitzgerald, Bobby Liswell, Adam St. Martin, and Kelly Frazier. So here in this legislative body, we engage in shared decision-making, accomplished through listening to each other, consideration of advantages and trade-offs, pros and consequences. We recognize that even if our position fails to win the vote, we have been heard, If our position wins the vote, we recognize it's not a victory necessarily, but a decision. And we gather here and observe certain rules to guide our work. The back of the warrant includes some rules of procedure that we'll follow. Rules are from Massachusetts general laws, our town charter, bylaws, and a book called Town Meeting Time. To speak, wait for recognition from me, the moderator, and then state your name and address. All remarks are to be addressed to the moderator. We speak for ourselves. If a board member is speaking on behalf of the board, they may speak at one of these front microphones on behalf of their board. If they're speaking as a private citizen, they'll go to the center microphones. Note that motions may differ slightly from articles as they are printed on the warrant. We vote on motions, not on articles. Some of these articles, however, require a 2/3 vote. I will alert you to when those articles require a 2/3 vote. Motions to limit or extend debate require a 2/3 vote. And our bylaws dictate that if a resident wants to come right to a vote, they can only move to do so after at least 5 have spoken in favor and 5 have spoken against. And the presumption is that these are speakers from the floor, not those who ask questions or provide answers. Motions to amend should be in writing. We will have something called consent agendas. These should have been handed out at the very beginning to let you know that there will be a motion to approve a bundle of articles in a series, and I'll explain how they work when we come to them. The 3 microphones in the center aisle are for those who are citizens who want to speak in favor or opposed to a motion, and those who want to ask a question or make another motion at the yellow microphone. Preference is given to new speakers. So if you're a frequent flyer, we ask that you kindly wait to go to the back of the line and let somebody who has not yet spoken have a chance to speak. If you have any questions at all or want to know how to accomplish something, just ask, and I will do my best to answer. Comments from the center microphone are about 2 minutes, and there's no cross-examination. So if you have a series of questions you'd like to ask them all at once, and that counts as your turn for speaking. We're using electronic voting devices at this meeting, and I'll explain those procedures. As the volunteers informed you, you must keep that lanyard on you at all time. If you need to leave the room to go stretch your legs, bring it with you. So you're not permitted to leave the gym without your voting device, and you may not tamper with the voting device, and you may not give the voting device to anyone else. When you leave the high school, you will be directed to place it in a receptacle to collect them. If you have any trouble with the device at all, alert one of those volunteers, and each section will have a volunteer to assist. Voting is simple. When I announce that voting is now open, you'll press 1 for yes and 2 for no. The other buttons, 3, 4, and 5, do absolutely nothing. The button with the paper airplane clears the screen. You have 15 seconds from the moment I open the vote to when the vote is closed. If you try to vote before I open the vote, you will see the letter. But once you have pressed 1 or 2, you'll see that number on the screen, along with OK on that screen, and that means your vote has been received. If you forget to vote, you will forego that vote. We will test the devices soon. If you notice any problem, now is the time to try to address that problem. And we're going to audit these randomly. So this kind of feels like the lottery. I used a random number generator, and this is going to sound weird, but these are the numbers I've got. If your clicker device has one of these numbers, I kindly invite you to come to the front, and you'll be directed to go to Mike Barbieri. Mike, would you wave, please? Go to Mike, and you'll be able to see what your test vote is. 10, 46, 258, 2, 273, and 249. Does anybody have those clicker numbers? Then come on, really? make sure they work. So again, 10, 46, 258, 2, 273, and 249. Are you coming for one of the votes? Yep, great. Come on down. I don't know if the price is right, but you're always a winner. Yeah. Well, so I want to get like a couple of people here. There's a couple more folks coming. All right, come on down. Thank you. No, you can't win the lottery. There's no money. Just the glory of making sure this is right. All right. So we're going to ask you to test your clickers. This is a fake vote. This is not binding. I believe it's pizza. Pepperoni is the best pizza topping. The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes. Press 2 for no. About 10 seconds left. Vote is now closed. So these folks are going to make sure that their vote was recorded accurately, and we will await their decision. And so Mike is going to be turning the computer around to ask them their vote. Is it accurate? Josh? Is it accurate? Yes. Second one? Okay, thank you. It's yes? Thank you. Is it accurate, sir? Yes. Thank you. Accurate. All right. Everyone said it's accurate. Thank you. Are we having another demonstration vote? Or are we good? Okay. All right. So the second one is a prediction. The Celtics will win back-to-back championships. The vote is not yet open. Okay, we've got to wait till the screen turns on. Great. Will the Celtics win back-to-back championships? The vote is now open. The vote is now closed. Is that correct, Mike? All right. So 205 yes, 112 no, and 12 abstain. If you had any problem with your device, go to see a teller. We're going to get started with the articles at this point. And so I will ask that once we are ready to vote, that people have a seat. I will call Vineeth Himavati to the front, please, to recognize him for a motion on Article 1. Hold on a second. Try it again. Kevin? Are the mics working? Try it again. Is it on? Is the device on? Kevin, the microphone? Nope. Try it now. It's good.
It's good. Hello?
Yay. Thank you.
There we go. Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to utilize existing funds approved through Article 12 of the 2022 annual town meeting for the center school roof replacement in the amount of $695,000 to be expended under the direction of the Center School Building Committee for a feasibility study for Center School, 837 Longmeadow Street, Longmeadow, Massachusetts, for roof replacement at the school for which the feasibility study, the town of Longmeadow, may be eligible for a grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority. Not done yet, unfortunately. The MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any cost the town incurs in connection with the feasibility study in excess of any grant approved by and received by the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the town.
Is there a second? Now you think motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it, Mr. Himavati.
At the annual town meeting in May 2022, a capital improvement project was approved for the center school flat roof replacement phase 1 of 2 in the amount of $695,000. When the project was ready to go out to bid, an updated estimate was obtained and exceeded available funds for the project. In order to move the project forward, the town was preparing to submit all phases of the roof project to the Massachusetts School Building Authority, MSBA, through the Accelerated Repair Project Program in 2023. However, MSBA paused the Accelerated Repair Program in 2023 due to the rising construction costs and ongoing project commitments. The MSBA Accelerated Repair Program resumed in 2024, and the town submitted an application which was approved by the MSBA on October 30th, 2024. Funding for a feasibility study needs to be confirmed within 90 days. This warrant article approves the funding for the project and will utilize existing funds from the approved warrant article from the May 2022 capital improvement project.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Finance Committee?
Finance Committee recommends this Article 1.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Now, seeing none, we will come directly to a vote. I do want to ask the volunteers in the back to ensure that voters come in as quickly as possible because we are coming to a vote. So volunteers, could you please direct people to come on in as quickly as possible? There's a lot of room over here in the front. We're going to be coming to a vote really soon. As folks get in, please come and sit down as quickly as possible so we can get to a vote. There's a lot of seats in the front. Come on down the front, right down the main aisle. Or not. What's that? I want the folks who are bottlenecked at that area. Mr. Rodriguez, could you direct people to go to the other door to get people in as quickly as possible? We're ready to come to a vote. Thank you for your patience tonight, folks. Really appreciate it. All right. The vote is now open. You can press 1 for yes and 2 for no. You have 15 seconds to vote. The vote is now closed. With 417 yes, 25 no, total of 444 votes, the motion passes majority affirmative vote. Article 2, Mr. Himarti.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $475,768 for the purpose of increasing the FY 2025 operating budgets for the schools, $125,000, DPW facilities, $125,000, and debt service and town school employee retiree benefits, OPEB liability, $225,768.
Is there a second? Motion's been made. You may speak to it.
The FY 2025 state budget approved by the legislature and signed by the governor included an increase of $250,768 in state aid for Long Meadow. The state budget was approved and adopted after the annual town meeting vote. This article amends the FY 2025 budget that was approved at the annual town meeting on May 14th, 2024, and distributes the state aid increase to the schools and Department of Public Works. The original town budget and town meeting warrant included $495,000 to purchase a new elementary literacy curriculum. However, the true cost of the literacy curriculum was known at the annual town meeting, and the motion read and approved reflected the accurate cost of $270,000. This leaves $225,000 in the FY 2025 budget to be allocated toward debt service and town school employee retiree benefits, OPEB liability.
Thank you. Finance Committee recommendation? Ms. Weider?
Finance Committee recommends Article 2.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will come directly to a vote. So I ask that the folks in the back, the counters in the back, inform those who are coming in that voting will be occurring. Ready? The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. 15 seconds to vote. Vote is now closed. With 422 yes, 39 no, the motion passes with a majority affirmative vote. And folks coming in, there's a lot of room right here in the front. We don't bite. Article 3.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the following amounts for capital projects, and that any remaining amounts from the capital projects be deposited to the Capital Stabilization Fund. From raise and appropriate in FY 2025, fire truck fund, $125,000, and the security camera upgrade for schools, $120,000.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
Annually, the town appropriates funds for capital expenditures. The FY 2025 capital plan is funded at 2.81% of the estimated general fund revenues less debt exclusion taxation as allotted for in their capital funding policy. This extra $225,000 is due to updated estimated local receipts. Expenditures in the capital plan are traditionally voted on at the annual town meeting. However, the two items in this article were deferred until the special fall town meeting pending the final costs of the elementary literacy curriculum.
Finance Committee recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends Article 3.
Thank you. Any further discussion on Article 3? Main motion. Seeing none, we will come directly to a vote. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. The voting is now open. The vote is now closed. With 438 yes, 28 no, the motion passes, majority affirmative vote. Article 4.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from the Operating Stabilization Fund the sum of $37,719.71 for the purpose of paying for emergency work related to storm cleanup from the August 15th, 2024 weather event.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
A section of town experienced a severe weather event on August 15th, 2024. Longmeadow Police, Fire, and DPW assisted with road closures, detours, and cleanup. DPW made use of the contracts it had in place for tree work and had all available staff respond to expeditiously clear roadways and sidewalks. Although the damage was isolated to a small section of town, it was a notable event with damage to many trees, houses, and other property. The storm hit early in the fiscal year and has depleted budgeted funds for this use, leaving the DPW budget vulnerable for the remainder of the fiscal year if funds are not replenished. This appropriation covers the costs of the emergency work needed, $1,700 in overtime expenses, and $36,019.71 in northern tree cleanup costs.
Thank you. Finance Committee recommendation, please.
Finance Committee recommends Article 4.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion under Article 4? This requires a 2/3 vote. I'm going to ask that the volunteers call for anybody who's outside to please come in, and for those who are standing to please come and sit down as quickly as possible. The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. You have 15 seconds to vote. And the vote is now closed. 450 yes, 30 no. The motion passes. 2/3 declaration majority vote. Affirmative. Article 5. Mr. Himavati.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from the Operating Stabilization Fund the sum of $314,000 for the purpose of paying for emergency remediation work related to organic growth cleanup at Wolf Swamp Elementary School, Center Elementary School, and the Community House.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
In July and August 2024, 3 town and school buildings suffered from organic growth, mold, necessitating emergency remediation work. Extensive cleanup work was done at Wolf Swamp Elementary School, $105,000, and replacing and adding insulation for temperature control, $150,000. Center School, which was $25,000, and the Community House, $34,000. This appropriation covers the costs of the emergency work needed. Long-term improvements are underway to prevent future occurrences, including a new chiller at Wolf Swamp Elementary and a new roof at Center School. See Article 1. Long-term plans need to be developed for the Community House. The intent is to repay the Operating Stabilization Fund with an article using free cash at the annual town meeting 2025.
Thank you. Finance Committee recommendation?
Finance Committee recommends Article 5.
Thank you. And does the school committee have a recommendation on this? You do not. Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will come directly to a vote. This requires a 2/3 vote. And I'll again ask the volunteers in back to make sure that if there's anybody in the back that want to come in to vote, they come in now. The vote is now open. You have 15 seconds to press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. And the vote is now closed. With 461 yes, 26 no, the motion passes by a 2/3 declaration. Hold on one moment. Yeah. Thank you. Yep. If you have a teal green case on a phone that looks like this, I have your phone. I don't want to pay another phone bill. I would really appreciate it if you come and pick up your phone. It will be on the table over here. Article 6. Mr. Calick?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Michael N. Calick, 458 William Street in Long Meadow. Madam Moderator, I offer the motion on Article 6, move that the town vote to authorize the continued expenditure of funds for the further planning and design and/or for the construction of a single combined middle school on the present Williams School property. This motion shall not restrict the expenditure of funds by the town for activities related to the rehabilitation, renovation, or reconstruction of the present Williams Middle School at the current scale and enrollment level, or for activities related to the construction of a combined middle school at another site, or take any other action relative thereto.
Thank you. The motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
At this point, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Moderator, I would ask Mr. William DiGiulio to make a short presentation to town meeting.
Yes, and I recognize Mr. DiGiulio for 7 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm going to talk very fast because we're on the clock here. So Article 6, what is this about? It's basically whether to continue funding the planning, design, and for this combined middle school on the Williams property. This article is sponsored by a group that was formed about 6 months ago in town called Educational Advocates for Responsible Spending. We recommend a no vote on this article. And this article is the result of a citizens petition that collected well over 250 signatures from all parts of town, not just the abutting neighborhoods. The purpose of this article is strictly about the location of this school. We support strongly improving the quality of education for all students in Long Meadow, but we do not support the site of the Williams Middle School property for a combined school. Now is the time to determine if the Williams site makes sense, rather than spending the next year a great deal of time and money preparing for the funding vote that's going to come up in November of 2025. Why won't the Williams site work? We have some bullet items here. People are going to speak to them when it comes to the comment section, but safety issues, traffic issues, zoning violations, the lot size is too small, the permanent loss of athletic fields, there's an insufficient buffer around the school, which ties back to the lot size being too small, the environmental health impact of bringing 650 students and all the cars that come with it to this site, and then infrastructure costs that are going to be required that are not included in the cost estimate for the school. We could not bring video here, but I'm sure a lot of you have seen videos on Facebook. So we have a few screenshots just to highlight some of the safety issues. This is the school bus entering on from Williams Street onto the Williams Middle School property. The bus is going the wrong way down the road here. Eventually, vehicles were trying to exit, came face to face with the bus, and had to drive up onto the tree belt so the bus could proceed. This is, again, the Williams Street entrance. The pickup truck on the right is entering the property. However, there are two SUVs behind him who are getting ready to pass. One on the right that's going to drive up on someone's lawn, and the guy on the left who's already on the wrong side of the road because he doesn't want to wait. This is a few seconds later. You see the pickup truck is still trying to make a left-hand turn. That silver SUV is passing illegally on the left. This is a no passing zone. He's almost hitting that white SUV that's exiting the property. And if you look carefully, there's a student on a bicycle in the crosswalk. And by the way, the crosswalk is being blocked by that black Jeep. This is not a safe situation. We go one slide further. The pickup truck eventually is able to make a left-hand turn. However, he's sticking out in the road. The crosswalk is still blocked, and the pickup truck is now impeding traffic on William Street. So I know those of you who don't live in the area don't realize maybe the concerns that happen here, but this is not a one-off situation. This happens on a regular basis. This is a schematic of the new school. The reason I'm showing this is because it's a little inaccurate. If you look in front of the school, you see a very healthy forest of trees. That does not exist. The school is facing east, which is toward Woodside Drive. There are homes there. The backyards are all lawns, like anybody else's backyard. And then the property line, there's a fence with one row of trees. So that road that's going to come in and out of the property is going to be approximately 15 feet from the property line. There's nowhere near enough space to create the forest that is depicted here. This is an aerial shot, and what we tried to do here was overlay 300 vehicles in and around the school. It makes sense that if you have 650 students coming, and a lot of them now, the new students are coming from the Glenbrook area, that at a minimum, half of these students are going to be dropped off by parents. So let's say for a nice conservative number, 300 vehicles. And if there's only one way in and out of this property, the people are coming in on Williams, they're going to go up around the parking lot, they're going to drop off in front of the school, and then all these cars are exiting onto Williams Street. A couple years ago, a college did an internship project on Longmeadow in regards to energy and sustainability. And one of the weaknesses that these students came up with was the high number of private cars that are going to our schools. In Massachusetts, private vehicles are the #1 cause of CO2 emissions. That's not just in Longmeadow, that's in the state of Massachusetts. And in Longmeadow, because we only have 3 or 4 buses that service our schools, most of the kids are dropped off. So this issue of cars idling is not unique to Williams Middle School. This happens at all the schools around town, and it's not doing any favors to the environment. This is another slide from this sustainability study. I think we all know where the major congestion points are in town. Route 5, the intersection of Bliss and Laurel, where a resident was hit by a car a few years ago. The intersection of Bliss and Blueberry, Williams Street, Grassy Gutter, Williams Street, and the entrance to Williams Middle School. And the reason I point this out is because most of these streets, Bliss, Laurel, Williams, Grassy Gutter, these are all the streets that surround the Williams Middle School. So if this was an issue a couple years ago, what makes you think bringing 350 more students, all the parents, the extra teachers, the buses, the service vehicles, is going to make things any better in this part of town? Questions you should be asking as residents. Why was the preferred schematic solution submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority before traffic studies were completed? There was one preliminary study that was done in the spring. Another traffic study was done a few weeks ago. They were both done during just good weather. I don't know how you can select the site until you have complete traffic study information. Number 2, you should be asking, why is the Town Planning and Zoning Committee not protecting the health and welfare of the community? Number 3, no formal town hearing was held on the location of this project. This was decided by a 15-member building committee, some members who do not live in town here.
Wrap it up.
Soon. Okay, I'm wrapping up here. I'm just going to go back quickly. So why don't the residents of Longmeadow have a say in the location of this new school? You should have, and that's what we're trying to achieve tonight. One last summary page. So we all know the center of Longmeadow. We have the high school, the middle school, the elementary school, the only supermarket, all the restaurants, businesses. It's too much for a small area that we consider the center of town. People come here for 2 reasons, education and quality of life. This project may improve the education, but it's going to have a negative impact on the quality of life.
Thank you. You're at 8 minutes.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So the Finance Committee does not have a recommendation on this. Let me call for the School Building Committee recommendation. You may use this microphone if you wish. Either one, yep.
Armin Ray, 96 Shadyside Drive. I'm the chair of the school building, or middle school building committee to be exact. The middle school building committee, after 18 public meetings, submitted a schematic design recommendation to the MSBA for the combined middle school at the Williams site, which was overwhelmingly approved by the MSBA in a vote just about 2 weeks ago. So our recommendation was to move forward with the Williams site for a combined middle school.
Thank you. School Committee recommendation, and then we'll go to the floor.
The school committee recommends a yes vote on Article 6.
Thank you. There's someone at the yellow microphone.
Erica Wida, 162 Cambridge Circle. I move that Article 6 be referred back to the Middle School Building Committee.
The motion is moving it back to the Middle School Building Committee. The motion has been made and seconded. You may speak to that.
The wording on Article 6 is needlessly confusing. Having read it multiple times and having people tell me how to vote, I'm still not completely sure what my yes or no vote actually says. Having listened to the presentation, they could have written this a million ways that would have been more clear than that. Why Article 6 is non-binding, the warrant could possibly be used in lawsuits against the town, which would be very expensive to defend because of the confusing wording. It is not good policy for the town to vote on an article where the wording could put the town at risk of legal action. The town residents should be presented with articles with clear wording that lets them know what their vote means without it having to be explained in detail. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we get to discussion, I want to address the question about the non-binding. I had made reference to this in the select board meeting. Town meeting time, our rule book holds that the moderator should advise the meeting of possible consequences of an affirmative vote. Town council previews the warrant to see if there are any potential issues where the Attorney General in the standard post-meeting review of actions could have cause to reject an affirmative action, and this article is one of those cases. Town meeting is free to disregard the council's opinion and express the sense of the meeting. The motion to refer is debatable and requires a simple majority. So what we're doing now is discussing that motion to refer this article to the school building committee. So I invite those who want to speak we'll start with at the opposed microphone. Are you opposed to referring it, the first person? You're not opposed to referring it. Is anyone want to speak about referring it to committee? If you have a question, yes, please come to and thank you.
Kate Mayer, 32 Fairway Drive. I have two questions. The first is, if we do refer it back to the school building committee, then will that delay eventually the current timeline of the expected proposed single building of the middle school?
No, because the main motion on the article is about, is a non-binding resolution, then a yes vote or a no vote or whatever the middle school building committee does with that article will not delay or accelerate.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion to refer?
I recommend we
A
vote.
name and address, please.
Sorry, Josh Levine, 78 Farmington Avenue. I recommend that we vote no to refer this back to the middle school building committee. As a member of the middle school building committee, we've had many, many meetings, as our chair has laid out. The result of this motion, if it came back to us as a question, we would come to the same conclusion. I don't think we need to do that again. It has been done. It has been thought out. So I would recommend we do not refer this motion back to committee.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion to refer?
Michael Calick, 458 William Street. I'm opposed to this particular motion. There's no motion, there's no place in the motion that it refers it to. This is what I've been told is a non-binding question for the town meeting. I don't see what purpose the amendment or the motion that's before the town meeting is going to do. It really means nothing in terms of this the debate that's going forward. It's either you are in favor of the motion on the floor or you're against it. This motion I think it just confuses town meeting as to what the effect of it is. I think that the town should go ahead, town meeting should go ahead and vote on the motion as it's been moved and seconded. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion to refer it to the middle school building committee? All right, the motion to refer requires a simple majority. So I will ask folks to have a seat and we'll vote. So call in people if there's anybody from the outside. And this is a motion to refer to the school building committee. The vote is now open. You can press yes to refer and no to keep it on the floor right now. The vote is now closed. With 54 yes, 463 no, the motion to refer fails by majority negative vote. We now refer back to the main motion on Article 6. Yes, you may speak to it.
Yes. My name is Minu Terani, and I live on 5 Lexington Road, Longmeadow. I am a professor. My undergraduate degree is in petroleum geology, partially from Michigan Tech University, master's, College of Engineering, Arizona State, and then PhD from College of Business, Arizona State. And I have done all these years of teaching. The best investment that a community can do is investing in the education of the younger generation. I teach my sustainability, I run a lot of conferences, and I tell my students that they are responsible for achieving net zero carbon emission economy by the year 2050. But there is no opposition from any of our committee members that Bill was talking about regarding rebuilding the new middle schools. The issue is the place that they want to do it. There are two major issues. One is carbon emission, and then the other one is geothermal energy apparently is the source of energy. As you know that the Swedish scientists, by the age of 26, the brain is still getting developed. And one thing that can have a negative impact, on brain development is CO2 or carbon emission, and also on pregnant women and other members of the community. And the other thing is geothermal energy. My undergrad, I have done research about it. I have visited Iceland, Northern Ireland in New Zealand, and then National Park in Wyoming. Geothermal energy is absolutely location specific. And that means the hot water comes up either under the ground or above the ground, which turns into a geyser or a boiling spring. But if you drill geothermal well under the ground, that is not the appropriate place, you move the plate tectonics. And as a result, you not only release poisonous vapors, gases like CO2, also...
Thank you.
Is done? I'm done?
You're at 2 minutes, over 2 minutes, yep. You can say one sentence in summary. Okay, now please forgive me, the superintendent had asked to speak. Are you still seeking recognition? Okay, then you may come up. So this'll, Martin O'Shea.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, for the opportunity to address town meeting. My name is Marty O'Shea. I'm privileged to serve as your superintendent of schools and hopefully provide a quick overview of our progress to date with this project so that you're in a position to make an informed decision. Recently, recent project milestones began when in October of 2022, just over 2 years ago, at a town meeting, appropriated $1.6 million for a feasibility study, and the school building committee has been busy ever since. As Chairman Ray mentioned, 18 meetings of the committee. We have procured a design team, numerous visioning sessions, countless meetings with town and school staff. Also included in our due diligence has been an evaluation and a documentation of existing and needed educational programs, existing facility conditions, enrollment patterns, a considerable review of potential sites, and a consideration of whether the best option was to repair to code, provide an addition renovation project, or new construction. Throughout, and really even going back to our first application to the Massachusetts School Building Authority, the evaluations have incorporated both Glenbrook and Williams. In September of 2024, the Middle School Building Committee submitted a preferred solution report to the MSBA. It was thoroughly reviewed by the MSBA and approved by the MSBA. That solution identified a 665 student consolidated middle school at the Williams site as the most cost-effective and educationally appropriate solution. Our next steps would move us into schematic design, cost estimating. Our hope would be to be in front of you next fall with a proposal for a local funding of the full project scope and budget. That would lead us towards construction in the fall of '26 and potentially opening in the summer of 2028 for the 28-29 school year. A few comments on the site selection. After considerable due diligence, the building committee had identified Williams as the preferred site for its constructability. There were fewer constraints than the Glenbrook site presented in terms of topography and wetlands. It is central. It seemed to present the best option for us in terms of commuting to and from school. From a public safety vantage point, that central location seemed to make sense as well. One of the factors with the Glenbrook site is that it would require phasing and the use of modular classrooms. That would add considerably to the cost and, of course, disrupt the education of students during the 30 months of construction. And certainly looking at the project costs, the costs of the new construction at the Williams site is estimated to be below the cost of construction at the Glenbrook site. A few thoughts on the safety that we would want to bring to this campus. I actually agree with Mr. Giulio, who spoke earlier that...
And I'm sorry for the interruptions. Sure. The second time, we try not to say names at town meeting. You can say the citizen petitioner or the chairman. Thank you.
The earlier speaker, I believe we have an opportunity to create a safe, modern campus at the Williams site. And with the redesign of the roadways, with dedicated bus lanes, with new and improved pickup and drop-off zones, with separate staff parking, we have an opportunity to create a safe campus. The Williams campus was designed for commuting patterns and vehicular patterns and pedestrian patterns in the 1960s, and this is our opportunity to bring that campus into the 21st century. Certainly one of the things we envision is that this combined consolidated middle school will present new opportunities for students to be engaged and on campus before and after school. My hope is that a new consolidated middle school becomes a place where students don't want to leave, that there is plenty of activities after school to keep them engaged so that families aren't arriving all at the same time to pick up their children. And certainly a new campus would bring about new procedures to supervise and expedite the loading and unloading of students. New sidewalks, separated sidewalks and bike paths would be featured on the site, and it would also be an opportunity for us to create additional signage and crosswalks for safe pedestrian traffic. Going forward, there will be additional traffic studies that will be undertaken. Initial traffic studies have suggested that it is a feasible site. The design team will continue to be engaged with Longmeadow Police, Fire, and DPW. I recently had a conversation with a representative from the Massachusetts Safe Routes to Schools program. We have an opportunity to bring in a third set of eyes to look at that campus to be sure that we're creating the safest campus we can. And then finally, a site advisory opportunity for folks who want to join the middle school building committee. So thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. We return back to the floor. Thank you for your patience. At the red microphone, name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Teresa DiGiulio, and I live at 8 Woodside Drive in Longmeadow.
Thank you.
I just want to speak to the safety issues as the previous speaker just spoke. We disagree highly that this is going to be a safe campus because you would have to widen William Street, you would have to widen Bliss Road, you would have to do major intersection changes to make this not an F grade per zoning laws in Long Meadow. The Williams Middle School site is just too congested. It's not safe. In fact, a woman was killed by a motor vehicle crossing Williams and Grassy Gutter near the high school. A man was also hit by a motor vehicle on Bliss and Laurel Street and now walks with a limp he will have for the rest of his life. We don't need to see any children being hit by cars either, with the extra 350 to 400 students being brought to this side of town. I've spoken to residents that live in the Glenbrook area when we were doing the petition and got over 250 signatures to have this article. And they said they want a school in their neighborhood. They don't want to have their children bused. They want their children to walk and bike. They do not want to have the school on this side of town because they bought their homes in that area of town for those schools. Glenbrook Middle School is a residential neighborhood. Wouldn't it make more sense to have a combined middle school on that site? It's in a neighborhood where kids could ride bikes and walk to school with less traffic off of major arteries. Williams Middle School is on two main arteries that flow from East Long Meadow, Hamden, Wilbraham, Enfield, Springfield, and then the only other two arteries are Maple and Converse. Everything is congested. You do not need to bring more children, more traffic to this area of town. That is all we are asking.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Vote no.
There's someone at the yellow microphone. Name and address, please.
My name's Alex Pays. I live at 118 King Philip Drive. I was wondering, I think I saw this at another town meeting, if we could vote on a motion to bypass further discussion and go forward with voting on Article 6.
Long Meadow has a bylaw related to that question. It's called calling the question. Our bylaw states that we can only move to call the question once 5 people have spoken in favor and 5 people have spoken against. We have not reached that threshold, so that motion is not yet out of order. That motion is not yet in order. I'll turn to the person at the, unless you have any other questions.
How many have gone so far on the opposed side?
1 second. Let's see.
There's some people
We
who've
have
spoken
2 opposed, 1 in favor, and you count as a question, so you don't count toward the total. You're welcome. At the green microphone.
Hello, my name is Shannon Topolensky at 70 Hazelwood Avenue. I'm relatively new to this town, but my children do go to Center and Williams schools, respectively. I would like to thank everyone for considering our kids in this vote, because I don't know if anyone's been to Williams recently, but it really needs help. I'm not sure about the other ones, but it needs updating and our kids deserve better. As far as concerns for congestion and everything else, my kids deal with that every day. I deal with that on the side roads living here in Long Meadow, and I think that the only way is to go forward and to not keep discussing this for a multitude of years, because our kids deserve better. And that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And folks, I've said it before, we are in a gym, but we are not cheering or jeering, and clapping only makes me tell you, please don't clap. So we'll keep things moving if you keep your hands quiet. At the red microphone, sir.
Thank you. My name is Tom Narrigan. My wife and I live at 77 Woodside Drive, and we have for 22 years. We enthusiastically support Long Meadow schools. Both of my children attended and graduated from Long Meadow schools. And we've also supported many of the other, all of the other major projects that have been brought up in town since we've lived here. My background is in civil engineering and transportation planning and operations. When I first heard about the possibility of the consolidated middle school, I was surprised that the Williams site, which is an already congested location near the high school and shops, was being seriously considered, because doubling the current enrollment with school students that live miles away will more than double the number of vehicles entering and leaving the site. And this additional traffic will create increased congestion and delay on two important east-west thoroughfares, Williams and Bliss, with Williams being a primary route for first responders. Adding space on the site for vehicles will not solve the basic traffic problems caused by intersections that are well over capacity. It will, however, result in worse air quality from idling vehicles. And it will also create frustration for parents and students waiting in line with 100 other cars or more on a good day. Mitigation measures may provide some relief, but they are certainly not a cure for these kinds of problems. Measures like adding turning lanes to existing highways are expensive and cannot be funded with cannot be funded with state aid as part of the cost of the schools. Other measures may be very unpopular, and mitigation measures don't always work. Proper planning requires solutions that handle weather, special events, construction, emergencies, and future needs.
Thank you. You can wrap it up, and you're at over 2 minutes. Yep.
We're on our way to spending $155+ million on this project. The town has come up with thoughtful and responsive solutions for other costly projects like the Adult Center, DPW garage, and high school. So together, let's do that again. Let's find a better solution.
Thank you. And at the green microphone.
Josh Levine, 78 Farmington Avenue. Some things we agree on. We need to support our children. We need to support our students. We need new middle schools because they're far behind the times. And we need one consolidated middle school is what makes the most sense financially. Right now, we've gotten a lot of disagreement on the location, but that's okay because this is what our town meeting's for. But I want to make clear what this vote does. It's non-binding, which means that it's essentially a request for the middle school building committee to change its mind. It's not going to change its mind. We spent a lot of time on this, 18 meetings, just public meetings. We've had listening sessions. We've been out in the community. We've talked to people. We've talked to our neighbors. We've worked with the abutters. We want to make the best solution for everyone. The middle school building committee has done a lot of work, and I ask you to vote yes to let us finish our work. Thank you.
Thank you. At the red microphone, please.
Yes, hello. My name is Irene Lucalis. I live on 40 Woodside Drive. We've been there for 23 years, and we've been very excited about having a new middle school. One of my concerns is, again, the issue of the location. For those of you who have been to those committee meetings where you've been seeing the layout, there are a lot of costs associated with this. The building's going to be over 20 different sides to the building, which is going to increase the amount of money that's going to be required to fund this. And one of the reasons why we have so many sides is that we have a compressed east-west kind of orientation, so it's very narrow. By doing this, we're going to be losing at least 2 playing fields. We now have 3, so there will only be 1 sports field left. We already talked about the cost of traffic and time, and one thing I will say as an abutter is that I don't really think that there's been a lot of regard to the concerns that we've had as abutters. My backyard is going to be facing the front of the school. 15 feet away from the property, there's going to be a 2-lane road for dropping off and picking up. That's going to be 30 feet of asphalt that's going 30 feet wide. There's going to be a lot of CO2 emissions, which are going to, are associated with asthma, bronchitis, and so forth. The runoff is a concern in terms of possible flooding, carcinogens. There's going to be the noise, the honking, the idling, all of that. I don't know that that really has been very closely looked at by the MSBC, because that is really going to be affecting our quality of life. We're building a school, yes, but we're building it within a community, and I really would like for all of us to work together. I think it would be helpful if the committee also had 2 more spots. So there would be one from the Glenbrook people that they have voted for, and also from the Williams Middle School, because this is a school that's being built. It's going to be here for 60 more years, and we really need to have some sort of consensus on it. I think that in their zeal to push this forward, that we haven't really listened to the abutters, and we've somewhat trivialized, I believe, their concerns at times.
Thank you. At the green microphone.
Hi, I'm Julie Morgan. I'm at 65 Longmeadow Street. I'm a member of the Middle School Building Committee and then also the school committee. And I'll be quick because I think many of us just want to get to a vote. The middle schools are a huge sore spot in our educational program here in Longmeadow. I have a student in the middle schools right now, but we hear this as school committee members. We're talking to teachers and to school leaders all the time. I think there's no doubt that the condition of the schools right now puts the quality of the education that our kids are getting at risk, and particularly so for students with disabilities who need more flexibility in their educational space than we can provide right now. So this project has been incredibly important and continues to be really important to the future of the town. I just want to say that, as a member of the Middle School Building Committee, I keep saying community, it's a committee, I take really seriously the responsibility to consider all of the different options for our town and for our students, and to take the input that we get from people who are abutters to the school, as well as from educators and others. It is our responsibility to look at all of the different factors related to this project, including the cost of it, the siting of the school, the traffic, the impact on the surrounding community. We have been doing that for, I believe Armin said, 18 meetings, and we're going to continue to do that. It's really important that we let this process unfold in the way that the town and the state have designed it, which is that the committee intakes that information, we make our best recommendation, and then it comes back to the town in a way where you can get clear information from the experts who have developed this project and then make a decision. And so I urge all of you to vote yes on this so that we can continue that process.
Thank you. I see someone at the yellow microphone.
Good evening, Nathan Pierce, 325 Williams Street, Longmeadow. I'd like to ask if I may very briefly educate the town on the geothermal heat by taking 1 minute. I'd like to clarify.
Well, so if you're at a microphone where you can ask a question, or you can make a motion. If you are in favor or opposed, based on what you'd like to educate us about, you can stand at one of those microphones, but that's not the spot to do it.
Okay. I didn't have an overwhelming opinion in either direction. I just wanted to clarify something that a previous speaker said.
Thank you. Unfortunately, you'd have to pick a side at this point to do that.
Thank you.
And I would ask for those who are at the red microphone, there are folks who have not yet spoken. If you want to offer somebody a chance who has not yet spoken, otherwise we'll just go forward. Okay? Yes?
Thank you. Sorry, I couldn't finish about geothermal energy. If it's not, it's very specific location, and wherever it is located has to have a specific distance from the water sources, from the drainage holes, and also other utilities. And if it's drilled and it's not favorable location for geothermal, it creates earthquake. Please go South Korea, check the earthquake in 2017 South Korea. Switzerland stopped using geothermal energy because of earthquake. And also it creates a lot of polluting gases like carbon monoxide that again, it's against the health and the welfare of younger generation. So that's something about geothermal energy. And I was going to say that our town residents are highly educated, 64% bachelor's degree and above. So maybe get some of the engineers, some of the bioscientists, some of the MDs, and get them together and let's talk about what is the best for the health and the welfare of our younger generation, because we're all for new schools. But the location and also the source of energy will definitely hampers their health and the welfare. Thank you.
Thank you. At the yellow microphone.
Bill DiGiulio, 8 Woodside Drive. I have a question for the planning and zoning. I would like someone from that committee to respond to the following statement here. I'm reading from the town zoning bylaws. When a traffic impact report is required, the proposed development shall comply with the following standards. Level of service at nearby intersections shall not be degraded more than 1 level as a result of traffic by the proposed development, nor shall any nearby intersection degrade below the level of D. Adjacent streets shall not exceed design capacity at the peak hour as a result of traffic generated by the proposed development. And lastly, safety hazards shall not be created or added to as a result of traffic generated by the proposed development. I would like someone from planning and zoning to reply to this. Why are they allowing this to proceed?
Mr. Giulio, we have 2 different committees. We have the planning board and we have the zoning board of appeals. Were you referring to the planning board?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Gunn, speaking on Chair Thibodeau is deferring to Mr. Gunn for speaking on behalf of the planning board. Do you have a way to address that question?
Hi, Walter Gunn, 1579 Long Meadow Street, clerk of the Long Meadow Planning Board. Yes, moving forward, there would be a site and design review process for this, which would include a traffic study. I don't know why this gentleman's laughing at me here, but
just speak it.
No, so there would be a process going forward, but first of all, it has to get to the point where there is a definitive plan, a presentation, and then we move forward as a planning board to review the process. We did the same thing with the high school. We approved the high school project, and so the same thing would go forward. But we can't, we're not in a position to decide where this current facility would be. Only once the facility is decided upon and its location, we would then get involved with a review of traffic, of every aspect of that project.
Thank you. You cannot respond. If you have a quick follow-up question, you may ask that. But again, reminder, anybody who anybody who has questions, I'm sorry, anyone who asks questions, please ask all your questions at once, as a general reminder. Mr. DiGiulio.
Yes, I'm just following up on his statement that they don't get involved until after it's been decided and planned. The preferred schematic plan has already been submitted to the MSBA. This is, as far as the building committee, middle school building committee is concerned, this site is a done deal. Why isn't planning pushing back when the preliminary traffic study clearly violates?
So you've asked why aren't they pushing back? Mr. Gunn.
Nothing's been brought forward to our board regarding traffic, et cetera. Again, the planning board has to have a formal submittal of site and design review, regardless whether it's commercial or whether this school. So nothing has come forward to us. We always assume that best practices are coming forward to get to this point so that we don't have to have a fight or an argument with the applicant on site and design review.
Thank you. At the green microphone.
Armin Ray, 96 Shadyside Drive, Long Meadow. Just a couple quick points. One was earlier somebody referred to the school building committee as being non-resident members of the town. That is totally incorrect. All of the members that were chosen in town are residents of the board, or the town manager and the superintendent as voting members. So yes, they may not be the other 7 members. Definitely, the voting members definitely are all residents of the town. From a traffic perspective, I agree. The traffic at Williams is horrendous. The traffic at Glenbrook in the morning wasn't much better until we opened up the bottom road a few years ago when my kids went there. We're talking about a 1950s traffic design in 2024. It can only get better. And with the expertise that we have at Ty and Bond, at Colliers, at JWA working together with the committee, it's going to get better. We are working every week, hand in hand with police, fire, DPW, the town manager's office, the select board, the school committee. And yes, we will be working with the planning board when we get to schematic design, which we are not there yet. We are at preliminary schematic design. The portion that Marty spoke to earlier.
Excuse me, remember no names. Thank you so much.
The superintendent guy up there with the red hair. Tallest Irishman on Hungry Hill.
Smalls. You're doing this to me.
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
So, yeah, that guy up there. When he was talking earlier about the timeline, the next 10 months are the most important time and portion of this phase. We're going to get to actual diagrams. We're going to have finalized traffic patterns. We're going to have concrete things that, I can't say his name, so the planning board chair can, his chair and his board can review. We go beyond. We took a trip to Walpole. We looked at the East Hampton consolidation of their middle schools. Why? Because they don't get 300 cars going there, because the kids are staying after school for chess club, for drama. We have over 100 kids between the 2 schools that participate in drama today. This school, Consolidated, will make sure that they're staying after school to participate in this club even more. This is going to become a focal point for the community beyond that, where people are going to gather. So you're not going to have the equal amount of cars going in and cars coming out, because kids are going to be staying after school, they're going to be going before school. I know my time's got to be up, so I'm just going to give it up.
Thank you.
Please vote yes. There's been a lot of work done on this, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. At the yellow microphone.
Hello, Shannon Topolinsky from 70 Hazelwood Avenue again. My question would be, I have 2. My first would be, how many years has this been in the making to come to this vote tonight?
And what's your other question?
My second question would be, you mentioned to the gentleman in the question line before that it took so many people to get it to a vote.
Yes, so you can do one of, you can only do one thing though. You can't ask a question or you can make a motion.
Dismiss my question and I vote to vote.
So you would like to make a motion to call the question?
Yes.
All right. So a
Yes.
motion to call the question has been made and seconded. It is not debatable. We come directly to a vote on whether to call the question. A motion to call the question is in order because we have had 5 and 5 speaking in favor and 5 speaking against. So if the motion to call the question is approved by a 2/3 vote, we will come directly to a vote on the main motion. If the motion to call the question fails, we will continue talking about the main motion. So, this vote is a motion to call the question. Those who are in favor of stopping discussion and coming right to a vote will vote yes. Those who would like to continue to talk will vote no. The vote is now, the voting is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. And this requires a 2/3 majority vote. 3 seconds left. The vote is now closed. The motion, it passes by a 2/3 majority vote by declaration. We will come directly to a vote on the main question. One moment, please. Ready? All right. We are now coming to the main motion on Article 6. This requires a simple majority. The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. Five seconds left to vote. The vote is now closed. With 434 yes and 96 no, the motion passes with a majority affirmative vote. I recognize that there are some people who are leaving at this point. I ask that you do so quickly and quietly, and make sure that you put your voting device in the plastic bag that it came in to help facilitate everything. I lost my words. And once the lull has died down, then I will ask Mr. Zwerko to come to the podium for Article 7. So again, quickly and quietly so we can get on with the rest of the business. Dan, you're gonna be ready soon? You'll, by standing at the front, you'll hurry people up. So again, I ask you to please listen to the volunteers. They are collecting your voting devices in the receptacles. Please put them in a baggie. All right, Article 7, Mr. Zwerko.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $5,195,000 to pay cost of road resurfacing projects, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44(7)(1), or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town, therefore, any such borrowing.
Motion has been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
The town has a backlog of road resurfacing projects. The town annually funds road work with Mass DOT Chapter 90 funds, approximately $480,000 a year, and capital improvement funds ranging from $340,000 to $740,000 a year. Needed road work greatly exceeds annual funding allocations. To make headway on the backlog of work, the DPW and Select Board have developed a plan to address roadways that do not need imminent underground utility work. The streets to be paved include Shaker Road, Emerson Road, Cooley Drive, Twin Hills Drive, Long Meadow Street, Bliss to Wheel Meadow, Bel Air Drive, Canterbury Lane, Grassy Gutter Road, and Pondside Road, and other streets as funding permits. The roads listed have a design completed and can be out to bid very soon.
Finance Committee recommendation, please.
Finance Committee recommends Article 7.
Thank you. Further discussion? Yes, the yellow mic.
Alex Grant, 54 Westmoreland Avenue. I have a question. As I read the writing in the warrant, this work would be done on streets that do not need imminent underground utility work. I guess my question is, how does this relate, if at all, to the work that could be done on the fiber? Because it sounds like that would involve some tearing up of roads.
DPW Director, could you address that question, please? Well, I'd asked him, but he's coming.
So, Sean Van Dusen, DPW Director. We have no current plans for where the fiber optics is going to be going, so that was not included as part of this plan.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, keep in mind this requires a 2/3 vote. Is someone coming to speak? No, okay. Then we'll come directly to a vote on the motion under Article 7. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. And the vote is now closed. With 375 yes, 43 no, the motion passes with a 2/3 declaration vote, affirmative vote. All right. Okay, Article 8, Mr. Zwerko.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize the Select Board to take all necessary and appropriate action to establish and to maintain in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 164 of the General Laws and in accordance with the rules, regulations, and orders of the Department of Public Utilities and the Department of Telecommunications and Cable, a municipal lighting plant for all purposes allowable under the laws of the Commonwealth, including with limitation the operation of a telecommunications system and any related services.
The motion has been made and seconded. Will you be speaking to this, or will somebody else be speaking to this, Mr. Zwerko?
Mr. Brown.
On the task force? Ben Brown? Yeah. Okay. Just for the sake of clarity, Articles 8 and 9 are very closely related, and I am permitting discussion on both of them together because trying to separate them out would be a difficult task. So, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Good evening, Ben Brown, 8 Osceola Lane, on behalf of the Municipal Fiber Task Force. Tonight, I'd like to provide some background information on Articles 8 and 9. Article 8 is a provision under Mass General Law that would allow the town of Longmeadow to operate a municipal light plant in accordance with the rules and regulations defined by the Department of Telecommunications and Cable. An MLP, as it's known, is something that's been around in Massachusetts for a long time and allows for communities to act as their own utility providers. The MLP status that Longmeadow is seeking would allow the town to create and operate a community-based internet offering. This status would allow the town to engage in collaborative with other MLPs in the region. Article 9 is a request for $444,000 to seek funding to a project to install and operate a broadband service in town. This funding would be used to submit poll applications to Verizon and Eversource, as well as to hire an outside vendor to design and engineer the construction project needed to create the municipal broadband service. So why fiber and why now? Some people in town and in this room will tell you that our current broadband provider is just fine. The service is good and the cost is acceptable. I'd like to tell you a bit about that service. Established as a community antenna television system in the 1990s, what is now Comcast first constructed a coax television system and eventually expanded to a broadband offering utilizing a technology called DOCSIS. Since the early 2000s, that technology that carries internet over television cable lines has pushed the limits in order to keep up with the needs of bandwidth. Initially, the answer to increasing bandwidth usage was data caps. When that failed, they were finally forced to upgrade their system in order to meet increasing needs. This fall, they announced mission accomplished. Shortly after the Municipal Fiber Task Force announced its recommendation, they claimed to have completed upgrading Longmeadow to 10 gigabit, now allowing for 2.5 gigabit residential connections. But what their marketing fails to make clear about DOSIS 4.0 is that the manufacturers are no longer interested in creating the products, and the telecom corporations are seeing losses in their service for the first time and slowing their deployment of the new technology because experts have said that this is it. This is the last advancement that's possible. In 2023, the Fiber Broadband Association recorded more than half of residential and commercial properties across the U.S. now had fiber to the premises. Fiber technology has been around longer than DOSIS, and it has consistently evolved. Today, fiber that's not fundamentally different than the fiber we're proposing is capable of 400 gigs per second, giving fiber to the premises a very long runway. The technology that provides 2.5 gigabit fiber to the home has been around for several years, and operators are implementing it now. Around our region, our neighbors are consistently choosing to go the fiber route. Wilbraham, East Longmeadow, West Springfield, and Southwick have all engaged in the process. Multiple towns have already created their build-outs, and some are starting that same discovery that we're presenting to you tonight. The days of coax are limited. Even with band-aiding, the physical cabling that carries the signal in some areas of town is more than 30 years old, in a world where everything has a functional service life. Comcast themselves, in new developments, prefers fiber over coax. Last fall, the Select Board asked the community for volunteers to explore options to expand municipal broadband in the community. We are comprised of network operators, IT professionals, cybersecurity experts, educators, and executives from the private industry. Over the course of the year, we explored multiple options for expanding broadband. We interviewed several different operators, ranging from private industry to bleeding edge of open technology, went on site visits, and asked a lot of questions. Finally, we presented our findings in August to the Select Board with a recommendation that became the 2 warrant articles tonight. As part of our year, we evaluated 3 options. These 3 options are recognized by the American Association for Public Broadband as the foundation for broadband across the country. I'd like to read you these 3 options and explain why we felt public utility fiber to the home with a single public ISP was the best choice for our community. Of the 3 options, 1 included we do nothing, that we hope for private industry to come to Longmeadow and build out a fiber network. We met with both Gateway Fiber and GoNetspeed, who both have active projects in Western Mass, and we determined that neither of the 2 companies are genuine to their promises. GoNetspeed claims to have built out their projects, completed their build-outs in Granby and Amherst, but publicly available data from the Massachusetts Broadband Institute shows they only ever built out 25% of Amherst, and the only reason they completed their Granby project was because they own the space on the poles. We heard from at least one of the operators that Longmeadow doesn't have the ROI for a full private deployment. Of the 2 municipally owned options, the one that didn't seem realistic for us was open access. In this model, we go it on our own as a middle mile provider. Each home gets fiber, and we invite multiple ISPs to compete for service. As a resident, you log onto a portal and choose which option works best for you. Longmeadow would be completely on our own, and while this concept sounds like the best option, we'd have to establish a department with staff to handle billing and tech support, and the reality is there's no guarantee the ISPs will offer cheap service because the market is very small. It's likely that Comcast would end up being one of the providers. If you ever have an issue, there'd be multiple layers of tech support to go through. Last, the option that we thought was best, the MLP working with other MLPs, and that's how Fiber Spring is here with us tonight. In this model, Longmeadow works collaboratively with South Hadley to construct the network, and then Longmeadow utilizes the resources that South Hadley's Fiber Spring already has in place. The town MLP board gets to set the price, speed, and knows every detail of what's being done with the money collected, and are ultimately answerable to the residents. Before I move on, I'd like to recognize that we met with Whip City from Westfield and felt equally positive about their abilities. They have a fantastic operation and are also wonderful people. Everyone that engages with them is really lucky for their collaboration. Given the 2 choices of people, you could really flip a coin. But there was an extra level of comfort that we felt with Fiber Spring. I don't normally like to read slides verbatim, but Sheld, Fiber Spring's parent organization, has operated in South Hadley as an MLP for 115 years. They serve with pride 8,000 electric customers and almost 4,000 broadband customers in a community that doesn't look much different than ours. The leadership team of Fiber Spring is experienced in what we're looking to do. While Fiber Spring has never expanded beyond South Hadley, the team that runs the operation has worked in multiple communities. The technicians who service the residents have years of experience, with some of them having actually worked in our community for many years, and probably in your home installing Comcast. If we choose to move forward with these two articles, you'll know the people you're calling for support. They're in the pictures on the screen. Kelly, who's over there, will probably end up reading the results of your satisfaction survey that you'll fill out at the end of your install. Nobody should feel misled. This will be an expensive project, and some people in this room will tell you that the town is incapable of providing a service beyond basic tax collection, that this project will fail because no one will sign up. But that completely unfair assessment is just a lie, one that's being promoted by a political organization whose goal it is to prevent Comcast from losing money. MLP broadband projects across Western Mass have been successful. Projects achieve their goal of being self-funded. The magical take rate that some want you to believe is 90% is not. The reality is that in every town that has taken this on, they've reached a penetration goal that exceeds their take rate goal, and there's no reason to believe that Longmeadow wouldn't be the same. Yes, there's a lot of logistics to figure out, but without the two warrant articles, we can't proceed with asking those questions. Finally, why spend money first? The answer is we're behind. This is a long process, and the reality is that most of us wouldn't see fiber in our internet in our homes for almost 3 years. That's because the utility providers, Eversource and Verizon, control the timeline. In order to get fiber around town, we have to install lines on poles, and yes, even the neighborhoods with underground wiring would need the wires and the poles to get to their neighborhood. We have more than 2,000 poles in Longmeadow, and each and every one of them has to have an application submitted, which then has to be reviewed by the owner, and then there's a negotiation for what work the town would have to pay for. Article 9 provides that funding and allows us to engage with FiberSpring to submit those applications on our behalf and simultaneously design the network deployment and create the proposals for construction. I'll close with saying this opportunity has many unique possibilities for the town. There's opportunities to create revenue, provide a level of utility independence, and prove to people that not only are we capable of providing a service for ourselves, but we can do it in a way that we're proud to say we own.
Thank you. Would the Finance Committee have recommendation on this one, or would it be the next one? Okay, thank you. So as I said before, we will be discussing, we can discuss both topics together. We will vote on them separately. So I invite people, if they have questions or comments, to come to the floor at the red microphone. Yes.
My name is Steve Wallman. I live on Pinewood Drive. I'm against this for several reasons. I have a lot of questions, and the devil is in the details, which we don't have much of. You are starting a business, and when you start a business that's hardware intensive, or any business, you need a business model. We don't have a business model that's been passed out to anyone. We've been told via newspaper that there's going to be a maintenance agreement, but we've not been presented with a maintenance agreement that could be done with the provision that it only comes into effect if this thing passed. We don't know what it's going to cost. And why would we even need a maintenance agreement in the first year? Surely there's going to be a warranty on parts and labor, so the first year should be free. We're told there's going to be a management agreement, but no management agreement has been presented to us, so we don't know what that's going to cost. No budget has been presented, so how do you figure your expenses? We've been told via newspaper that there's going to be 50% uptake, but we haven't been told 50% of what number. Remember, 50% of 10 is 5, and 50% of 100 is 50. We need a hard number as to how many people you expect to sign up to make this a viable project. So I looked at the numbers, and I came up with numbers of who will not sign up. When Comcast was in its prime and the only game in town, they had 5,400 cable subscribers. That's the number that I'm working with. According to the latest research, less than 25% of residents have a landline telephone. The others are potential people who will sign up for internet because they already have it. In Longmeadow, if you figure 23%, you've got 1,242 who have landline phones. And if you figure just 1/3 of 1,200, there are 400 households in Longmeadow that don't have internet. Yes, there are that many. You can also look at the people who are skeptical. They'll look at it, they'll see that Comcast has lowered their price to $70. They're going to say the devil I know is better than the devil I don't know. So they'll stick with Comcast. You have people who are oblivious. They don't even know what's going on. They're going to see their bill lowered. They're not going to sign up.
Thank you. You're at 2 minutes. So it shall be. At the green mic, please.
My name is Stephen Locke. I live at 98 Brooks Road. I've lived in Longmeadow for almost 3 years with my family. I came from Wayland, which had Verizon as a fiber delivery of internet service, and it made an enormous difference. And had I known how bad the Comcast service was here for internet, which is essential to my work, I would have, it would have given me pause to think about moving to Longmeadow. I was shocked to see how bad the Comcast service was. As a physician, I do a lot of telemedicine. My practice of psychiatry is entirely virtual, and having high bandwidth and reliable bandwidth is absolutely critical to the work that I do. And it's been incredibly disappointing and frustrating to have sessions with patients interrupted because of drops in Comcast service. So far, I don't think anybody's been harmed by it, but it could conceivably lead to harm. I got so desperate that I switched to T-Mobile as an entirely cellular service for internet access, and that was also disappointing. So ever since I've been here, I've been hoping that there would be a move towards fiber. In fact, I spoke before the select board, before the committee, the task force was created, and encouraged the town to think about looking into the possibility of creating a fiber network. So this has been important to me. I also serve as a mentor for students who are interested in research that involves using the internet. And these are students from Longmeadow High School, they're students from Wayland High School, and when I was at Harvard Medical School, I mentored a lot of students there who were interested in technology applications in healthcare. This is the direction in which we're moving. It's absolutely critically important that the town have access to high bandwidth services, and it's going to be an essential part of the town's identity and necessary for the success of the town.
Thank you. And back to, oh, I'm sorry, at the yellow microphone. Yep.
Hi, Lee Allentuck, 53 Westmoreland Avenue. The $400 and some thousand, I think, is sort of the down payment. Do we have an idea of what the overall capital budget to build out an entire fiber network in our town will be, and where that cost will come from?
Capital budget question. Would that be, what's that?
Thank you, Lee.
Mr. Himavati.
Yes, so I know that we didn't get a chance to read out Article 9, but in the explanation for Article 9, it talks about how the 491 is split up between pole applications and design and engineering. The estimate right now for a total build out is about $25 million, but it's unlikely that we would bond out that much at one time. A lot of our a lot of the communities around us, like West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Westfield, South Hadley even, Chicopee, what they've done is they've built out neighborhood by neighborhood, so they will seek out interest and see which neighborhoods have the highest interest. They will build out in those neighborhoods first. They will generate revenue in those neighborhoods and use that revenue to pay down the debt service and also to help build out the next neighborhood. So that way it minimizes the risk for the town by building it out in segments. And that's the model that most of the communities around us have followed. And we will have a better sense of that after the design and engineering is completed, but that seems to be the best model to do this.
Thank you. At the red microphone.
Steve
Mr. Wallman.
Wallman, Pinewood Drive. To continue on, there are people who just are oblivious. They don't know what's going on, and they're going to see that their bill has gone down to 70, and they're not going to change. You have people who have Comcast Xfinity cellular service. They will lose their cellular service and have to switch to somebody else if they sign on with the town for the same dollar amount. We have told $25 million, and maybe it'll be less, maybe it'll be more. West Springfield had an oops. They all of a sudden had to add $6 million to the $30 million that they estimated because somebody made a mistake. So we have to be careful about that as well. We also have to have a head end, and I don't know whether that head end has to be manned or not, but if it has to be manned, you're going to need at least 6 employees because of vacations and sickness and holidays, and they have to be paid well because they have to understand the equipment, plus benefits. So where is that money coming from? And we have forgotten that next November, the school committee is going to come here to the next November's town meeting and ask for an override to build that middle school that we just talked about. And that's going to be somewhere between $75 million and $90 million, added to the let's say $15 million that we're going to need for this project. And the question is, can we afford it? You know, yesterday for the first time, I saw a Bentley SUV. I drive a Toyota SUV because that's what I need and that's what I can afford. Comcast is what we can afford. If I wanted fiber, fiber is the Bentley. It's nice to have, but I can't afford it. So my vote is going to be no, and I hope you think about what you can afford as well.
Thank you.
And vote.
At the yellow microphone and then the green.
Yellow. Brett Lukasik, 38 Crescent Road. I just have some questions. I've seen this up in New Hampshire, you know, a similar kind of plan, and they have a central, it's based on an electrical company, like a co-op. Does this have any plan for a co-op for electricity as well?
Mr. Hemavati.
The creation of the municipal light plant can give us that option, but right now there are no plans for that. You know, obviously being able to provide electricity, you would have to create a whole new division, hire employees. We went into this process with the objective of finding an option where we would not have to add any town employees, so there will be no employees added to our town government. The way that this structure would work, as the other communities around us, like West Springfield, East Longmeadow, are also pursuing, is that we would contract out with Fiber Springs. So, you know, and other communities would contract out with Whip City. But in our arrangement, you know, Fiber Spring would be responsible for admin, billing, technical support, and then so people would get one bill a month for their internet. A portion of that would go to Fiber Spring to take care of admin and billing and tech support, and then the rest would come back to the town of Longmeadow.
Thank you. At the green mic.
Christopher Trotta, 37 Homecrest Street. If I may, my qualifications are I am an energy engineer with multiple international certifications. Typically, I deal with electricity and natural gas in about a dozen states over the past 20 years. What I can tell you from my experience dealing with investor-owned utilities, as Comcast Xfinity is, that those utilities do not typically have the public's best interest at heart. They report to their shareholders and not to their customers. If Longmeadow were to adopt a fiber optic internet, we, the residents of Longmeadow, would benefit as the investment that this town makes, the money that we pay for this service, would go back into our coffers to expand the network, to possibly provide Wi-Fi throughout the town, so our cell phones work on that little dip on Laurel Street. We all know it, we're all laughing. We would have additional funds to equip students with higher broadband internet so we're not lagging during online learning as we're seeing is happening now with the current product. Thank you.
Thank you. At the yellow microphone.
Mesa D'Souza, 21 Roseland Terrace.
Yep. What's your question or motion?
Could you further clarify what Fiber Shield or Sheld's role will be in the short term versus long term in terms of like ownership, service provision, things like that?
Mr. Himavathi, would you answer that question, please?
Yes, sure. So in the first portion of this, Fiber Spring would serve as the project manager for the build out. And so they would oversee the pole application process, design and engineering, and then if we were to bond to hire them to build out the fiber network, they would be the project managers for that. Something like the pole applications. I think Ben said in his presentation that pole applications, there are more than 2,000 poles in Longmeadow, that each pole needs to be visited, needs to be measured, needs to be assessed, and then a unique pole application needs to be submitted for each pole. The person that Fiber Spring has done this in over 20 communities in Western Massachusetts. So there is nobody around here that has more experience than that person. So part of that experience and their know-how is also the reason why we chose to work with them. So that would be the first phase. And then once folks are actually online and we have subscribers in Longmeadow, then they would do all of the billing, admin, and technical support. So if you have an issue with your internet service, they would be the ones that come out and provide you with support.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, or?
Well, just in terms of ownership, so are they consultants with us, or do they own a portion?
No, they do not own, and so yeah, the town of
Mr.
Longmeadow
Himavathi,
owns the entire fiber network. Yeah.
Okay. At the green microphone, please.
Hello, Shannon Topolinsky at 70 Hazelwood Avenue. In the 2 years that I've lived here, I have not met one resident of Longmeadow who is happy with their internet service. Xfinity, Comcast, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same company. I drive a 2011 Toyota SUV proudly, and I will be voting for fiber because that is voting for progress and for our future, not just us, but our kids, for people who work from home. No town like this doesn't have fiber. It's the future. That's upon us, and it's not going anywhere. So I would ask you all to think about that. Times change. Thank you.
Thank you. At the red microphone, please.
Hello, this is Adam Rosenblum. I'm at 25 White Oaks. I remember we need 5 opposed in addition to the support, so.
Let me interrupt you.
opposed.
Allow me to interrupt you, please. The rule is for 5 speaking in favor, 5 speaking opposed. If there's no one lined up to speak and we only have 5 in favor, at that point, we could make the motion. So you don't have to artificially do anything to inflate the numbers.
Okay.
Yep. At the yellow microphone.
Thank you. Tom Shea, 81 Green Meadow. I am looking at Article 9, which is to fund the initial development costs for fiber. I'm actually for the articles, but I have 2 questions. The expectations are that in 12 to 18 months, there'll be a full budget and taxpayers asked to approve the first of multiple bond requests totaling $25 million that's been mentioned earlier. You also need to say that that will likely be general obligations of the town of Longmeadow, full faith and credit. I appreciate the work the Fiber Committee has done. The MLP entity will be approved, I believe, and then it's time for contracts to be signed, further diligence, structuring and financial review and procurement. At that point, I think the town will turn it over to lawyers and accountants. And
Could you please get to your question?
So I have two questions. First is, will the select board consider a 20-year bond rather than 30 years that's been proposed? This is technology. The private sector would never finance technology for 30 years. Other communities have done 20 years. That's my first question.
And the second one?
My second question is, given the scope and the financial commitment of the town's balance sheet, will the select board consider being the MLP board until the project is substantially complete? This has been done in other communities, and that way the select board will control parts of this, and the $25 million that's on the town's budget, on the town's balance sheet, will be monitored by the select board. Those are my two questions.
Thank you. I'll ask the chair of the select board to speak on this. Mr. Himavati.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Tom. I will say if the MLP vote passes, the select board will consider both 20-year bond and also will consider serving as the MLP itself, but there are pros and cons to doing that, and so, you know, that's, I don't know how that will play out, but we will, of course, consider all options.
Thank you. At the green microphone, please.
Edward Astonin, 469 Maple Road. I work as a senior telecommunications engineer for Bay State. I'm in favor, obviously, for this fiber to come to Long Meadow. They say that competition breeds innovation, and for too long, Comcast has had a stranglehold on this town, in my opinion. Others will say that there are other options, such as dial-up internet or DSL or T-Mobile. Those aren't realistic options for hardwired fast internet for this day and age. So I'm very much so in favor of this, and let's put the money back into Long Meadow instead of putting it, towards shareholders and profits for Comcast instead. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lukasik?
Brad Lukasik, 38 Crescent Road. I just have a question about the last mile, I guess what they call it. How far does the fiber actually go to my house? Does it actually have fiber into the house, or is it a junction where I have that same old coax?
I'm going to ask if Sean Fitzgerald from Fiber Spring is here. And I would ask that any non-voters sit in the visitors section, just FYI. Please. Yes, you may use this. It's the general manager of Fiber Spring.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My name is Sean Fitzgerald, General Manager of South Hadley Electric. The fiber will go directly to your home. So every home would get it directly wired with fiber.
Thank you.
Yep.
At the green microphone? I think you're all
David
set.
Catan, 59 Prinwood Road, speaking in favor of the article. I see this as an investment in our town. As the original presenter presented, that the technology we have coming in our houses now is cable that is 30, 40 years old. It's coming to the end of its life, and we need to innovate. We need to invest in our town so that we stay on pace with other towns around us to remain a desirable place to live, and that includes things like utilities, like internet. We've heard that South Hadley already has this. Westfield already has this. You don't want people who are looking at moving to Western Mass saying, wow, Longmeadow is a very nice, quaint, picturesque New England town, but it's backward when it comes to technology. We don't want it to be our story, and so I urge us to vote in favor so that we can invest in our town and take steps to promoting our future.
Thank you. At the yellow microphone.
Michelle Keene-Moore, 116 Brooks Road. Along those lines, is there a commitment to actually bring fiber to every single house in town, or is this going to create a situation in town of haves and have-nots?
Mr. Himavati, would you address that, please?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So this was one of the main objectives of the fiber task force, was that we want to create a process, create a system where every home would have the option to connect to fiber if they so chose to. I think the presenter said in a lot of the communities that we have seen in Western Mass that have gone with a third-party provider, that has not happened. We've seen, basically, and also when we have spoken to these third-party providers ourselves and asked for that commitment, they could not give us that commitment. They would basically said, we're a for-profit company, and we will build out where we can maximize profits. And so, when we're thinking about the future, we're thinking about giving everyone the opportunity to have high-speed, reliable internet for school, work, telehealth, public safety. And I think we can all see the way that our products in our home are also becoming more dependent on the internet as well. That was something that was very important for us, and this is a process that will lead to that.
Thank you. Anything new to add at the green mic?
Hi there, David Fernandez, 302 William Street. I'm obviously a resident. I'm also a business owner here in town. I utilize office space as well as work from home quite a bit. The nature of my business is it is very reliant on quick, efficient access to data, which Comcast does not provide, does not care to provide. I actually registered a speed this morning of 17 megabytes a second when I paid for gig speed. Comcast's response was, oh well. So I am firmly in the yes category, since this will give us options and it will set us up for future growth and access to technology as it expands. Whereas right now we are trying to get the last hit on a dead horse.
Thank you. At the yellow microphone.
Gianna Allentuck, 53 Westmoreland Avenue. So I'm not an engineer, I'm not a finance person, I'm not anything that really gives me any right to be asking these questions, and I appreciate all of the
You're a
efforts and time.
citizen here, and you can ask whatever question you want, so go ahead.
So, I just want to say I appreciate all the people that have put their time and their thought into this. I just have been hearing, other towns are doing this, and they're successful doing this, and when I think about $25 million, I was formerly on the school committee, so I have things that I really am passionate about in terms of spending our money. So I just was wondering if anybody has any details about, the other towns that are doing this. Somebody said that they've been successful. I'm just thinking about the millions of dollars that they put out, and is there any details or evidence of what they've been bringing in to kind of, like I'm hearing, let's bring money back into Long Meadow, but I'm not really sure that I'm seeing any of the details about those other towns and how they're benefiting from this.
I'll ask the chair, Mr. Himavati.
Yes, thank you for the question. So in the preliminary work that FiberSpring did for us, they basically found that we need to have a 40% take rate for the enterprise to be self-sufficient. And there are over 25 towns in Western Mass and in the Berkshires that have done this the same way that we have been doing it, and all of them have reached that minimum threshold. So all of their networks are financially self-sufficient. The communities that we've seen that have made significant revenue where their take rates are much higher, for example, in South Hadley, they just finished building out their fiber network this summer, just a few months ago, and they're already at a 50% take rate. So half the town has already signed up for fiber internet. In other communities, we've seen take rates get to a point where they are then decreasing the monthly bill for all of their residents. We're also seeing other communities invest that revenue back into the community. So in Westfield, for example, they are devoting their revenue, some of their revenues, to redoing the athletic fields in town. And if anyone's been to Westfield, some of these athletic fields have not been usable for 15 years. And now the mayor of Westfield said, we never could have fixed these fields if it were not for our fiber, municipal fiber. So those are just some examples, but that'll be up to us. It'll be up to the municipal light plant. It'll be up to the town of Long Meadow for how we want to use that revenue.
Thank you. Do you have a follow-up, or?
I do, Madam Moderator. I heard somebody mention, just again from my own understanding, if we were getting fiber to our homes, would we still be able to use Comcast if that was our choice? Because I'm not sure on that either.
Mr. Himavati.
Yeah, so if you want to stay with Comcast, you can stay with Comcast. There are a lot of folks, too, when we did our research and we interviewed people in communities that had gone to municipal fiber that liked their Comcast cable, and so they switched their internet to their municipal fiber offering and then stayed with Comcast cable. So that, Comcast, their lines are still here. They're still going to be here. If folks want to use them, they can. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. At the green microphone.
Nicholas Christopherakis, 32 Williams Court. I'd like to speak from personal experience in urging you all to vote in favor. As many young people do, I have been de facto IT guy in my family for several years. And due to my family's bandwidth needs, we subscribe to Comcast's highest tier of residential service, which offers gigabit speeds over copper wires. And simply put, they are not able to deliver on this promise in any consistent way. Speeds will range from 10 megabits per second to 700 megabits per second, but more frequently 10. And in general, Comcast being unable to deliver on their promises and frankly overcharging for what they can't even provide should be replaced with a more consumer-friendly option, and we should be prepared to progress in our infrastructure.
Thank you. At the yellow microphone.
Alex Arnold, 267 William Street. I'd like to call to question.
Is there a second? The motion has been made and second to call the question on the main motion on Article 8. It is in order because we have had 7 in favor and only 2 speaking opposed. We are ready to come to a vote on the question whether to end debate. So the whether to end debate calls for a 2/3 vote. So we're voting now on whether to stop talking. That vote will be open real soon. The vote is now open on whether to end debate. It requires a 2/3 vote. The vote is now closed with 416 yes and 11 no. The motion to call the question has been approved by a 2/3 majority affirmative. Now we will come, hold on, Mr. Zwerko. We got to vote on the main motion. So now we're voting on the main motion under Article 8. This also requires a 2/3 majority vote. The vote is now open. And the vote is now closed. With 396 yes, 27 no, the main motion passes with a 2/3 majority affirmative by declaration. All right, this is what I got. We now come to Article 9. Mr. Zwerko.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from available funds in the Treasury the sum of $491,444.16 for the purpose of fiber network design, project management services, pole attachment applications, and to authorize the MLP Municipal Light Plant Board to take all steps necessary to carry out this ask.
The motion has been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
The sum of $262,310.40 will be for the purpose of collecting information, preparing, submitting, and managing over 2,000 unique poll applications. Each individual poll will be visited, measured, and assessed. Poll applications will be submitted to Eversource and Verizon. After submission, poll applications typically take around 2 years to process. The poll application process is the lengthiest portion of a fiber network build-out, so there's value in beginning this process immediately. Additionally, if other entities submit poll applications first, it will create even further delays. The sum of $229,133.76 will be for the purpose of engineering and design for a full fiber network build-out. A completed engineering and design will allow the Municipal Light Plant Board to make financing, scheduling, and planning decisions. The total amount of $491,444.16 will be paid back from the Municipal Light Plant Enterprise Fund to the town's general fund upon the first issuance of bonds for the construction of the fiber network.
Thank you. Finance Committee recommendation, please, on Article 9 motion.
Finance Committee recommends Article 9.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, this requires a simple majority. The vote is now open. 15 seconds to vote. And I kindly ask you to please wait. Please do not sit down. Please sit down. Hold on. Thanks. Kindly sit down while the vote is open. The vote is now closed. With 397 yes, 30 no, the motion passes, majority affirmative vote. And again, excuse me if you could leave quietly and quickly as possible, putting your voting devices in the plastic baggie. We will be getting to consent agenda 1 real quick. And for those who are waiting, consent agenda 1 will consider Articles 10 and 11 in a grouping as per your motion sheets. We're going to take a minute. Mr. Zwerko, we're going to be making that motion really soon so that we can get on with the business and get out as quickly as possible. If you're staying, please sit down, and I will get a motion. Mr. Zwerko.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve Articles 10 and 11 as part of a consent agenda.
The motion has been made and seconded. The motion for a consent agenda is to consider Articles 10 and 11 in a grouping. If you would like to hold one of the articles, yell out "hold," and we will consider them separately when I call their name. 10, 11. I did not hear a hold. I heard somebody yell for a baggie. We're going to come directly to a vote on 10 and 11 as a grouping. This requires a simple majority. The vote is now open. You have 5 seconds left to vote on the consent agenda for Articles 10 and 11. And the vote is now closed with 182 yes, 1 no. Motion passes, majority affirmative vote. Consent agenda 2. Mr. Lamb.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve Articles 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17 as part of a consent agenda.
The motion has been made and seconded. If you wish to consider any of these articles separately, please yell out "hold" when I call that number. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. All right, we are going to come directly to a vote on all of those articles. The vote is now open. Thank you. The vote is now closed with 170 yes, 2 no. The motion passes, majority affirmative vote. sorry? I'm sorry. 170 yes, 7 no. Sorry. Mr. Gold.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from available funds in the Treasury the sum of $630,000 for the purchase of curbside recycling carts.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it, Mr. Gold.
Thank you. The town recently went out for bid for a new curbside trash and recycling pickup contract. We're finalizing the details of that contract, and the option that includes automated recycling, or handling of the recycling materials offers the town $2 million lower contract than keeping the system we have of blue bins. The requested $630,000 will authorize the town to purchase up to 2 separate recycling barrels for each household in town. That will be larger than the current trash barrels that we have. This is a step that will allow the town to take advantage of the potential savings.
Recommendation from the Finance Committee, please.
I've lost, what number is this one?
18.
Sorry. Finance Committee recommends Article 18.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Oh, hold on, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
We weren't as fast as you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, Andrew Berkey, 32 Wilson Drive. I think I'm in favor of this motion, but I have a question about, can I still get unlimited recycling?
Mr. Gold.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Good to go.
That was easy. All right. Yes.
Mike Kirby, 81 Longwood Avenue. Just wanted to get a clarification in regards to this. We currently have 2 different types of recycling on alternating weeks. Is this going to be a combined paper, cardboard, and commingling recycling collection at the same time? So will we be getting twice weekly, still weekly recycling? And is all this stuff going to be combined now, or is it still going to be separate, cardboard and commingle?
Mr. Gold?
We'll continue to have what we call dual stream recycling. So it'll be paper, cardboard on one week and glass, plastic another, which is why we're proposing to give everybody 2 additional barrels for recycling. One would be recycling for paper, cardboard, another would be for recycling. Bring out the appropriate one in the appropriate week.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, Mike Bombick, 63 Green Acre. I just have a question about recouping that money. Do we have a 5-year contract with this company? And also, will this company be as reliable and timely as our current service?
I'll get the answer to that question. You have it. Mr. Gold.
The contract we're working on now would indeed be a 5-year contract. The trash hauling contract is separate from, I shouldn't say separate from, but this article calls for the town to purchase, the town to own the recycling barrels separate from the hauler. So we can talk about the reliability or lack thereof, or issues or questions about the hauler as part of our overall hauling contract, but that's not really related to the benefit we believe that we see from having bid this with automated recycling as well as trash.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, the yellow microphone.
Hi, Thomas Howe, 95 Meadow Road. You said we're getting larger barrels. Did I hear that correctly?
Mr. Gold?
Yes, you did. We're still under consideration whether they go to 45, and you saw them outside. There's a 45-gallon, a 65-gallon. We may even at some point give people an option, but maybe one for cardboard and one for glass plastic. But they'll certainly be larger than the 35-gallon barrel we have for trash.
Okay, so you're going to be replacing the
Mr. Howard.
trash barrel also?
No.
Or just the recycling bins?
Just the recycling.
Just the recycling bins. Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yep. And
Jay Turnberg, 155 Blueberry Hill Road. Was any consideration given to how we're going to store 2 big, huge extra containers on our property? These things are big. I don't know where I'm going to put them.
Mr. Gold?
The answer is yes. We've talked about that. We believe that there will be some residents who say, I only want one because I only have room for it, and I'll fill it with the appropriate material in the appropriate week. So the answer is yes, but the financial benefit to the town of automating the recycling just overwhelms the consideration of, do we go from these blue bins, that somebody has to put the blue bins somewhere also, so replace the blue bins with a barrel.
Okay. Blue
Do you have a
bins are-
follow-up? Yep.
Okay. Blue bins are small.
At the yellow microphone, yep.
Mike Kirby, 81 Lawnwood again. So if we do not use these containers that the town is purchasing, or that we're purchasing basically, but if we have more cardboard, for example, than what will fit in the bin, can that be put alongside and it will still be picked up? Will we be required to use these recycling bins? Because as the last questionnaire just came up with that question, I live in a 680 square foot house, and I barely fit my car in the garage, so I have no room for these barrels in my house, so they'll have to be outside. Or will we be required to use those barrels?
Mr. Gold, can you answer that question?
The short answer is yes. The hauling company will only pick up barrels that they can pick up with the automated system. They'll have the metal bar on them to pick it up. In terms of the question of, gee, what if, I need more material, we're still working on the details of how this program will roll out. It won't be starting until July 1st of 2025. We did this really early. But one of the things we envision, or we've talked about, is will there be a place in town, if you buy a new TV set or something with a massive cardboard box, there'd be a place where you could bring it if you don't want to break it down or put it into your into this barrel. But again, this is something that the Recycling Solid Waste Committee is going to be looking at on how to appropriately roll out this new system. We've gone through several new systems in the time I've lived in town. We've always been successful getting it to work through. I believe this one will also, and the cost savings to the town or make it well worth our figuring it out and working it out.
Thank you. At the yellow mic?
Hi, Justice Guerreri, 92 Concord. I just wanted to see if you could clarify. You said it would be unlimited. My question would be, how many barrels are anticipated for each household, roughly, or best guess?
Mr. Gold?
Each household will get up to 2 barrels, one for glass plastic and one for paper cardboard. But you can, fill it up, and if you have extra, like I said, we're working on the details of where you can take the extra, a 65-gallon paper cardboard is or glass plastic is an awful lot of stuff. But again, it's not restricted by, how much you can put out. Clearly, though, we need to have it be able to be automated. The deal is that the contractors, the hauling contractor, they want somebody to drive in a truck and have the truck have an automated arm that picks up these things and dumps them. So, it's far more automated, and that's where we'll go.
Thank you. You have a quick follow-up?
One follow-up?
Yep.
So when you said unlimited, it was actually limited to what those 2 barrels can fit with a pending plan in the future. It's not unlimited.
Mr. Gold, is that?
You're only restricted by what you can put in the barrel or are willing to take to what we'll probably have as a central location, so you can dispose of or recycle additional materials.
Thank you. At the green microphone. Mr. Gold, Mr. Gunn? Mr. Gunn? Nope. Okay. At the red microphone then.
Okay, I'm Steve Kennedy, live on 11 Weston Drive. I am hesitant about voting for anything that the select board says we haven't worked out the details yet, number one. Number two, when I drive around this town, when it's paper pickup time, you see people have a barrel with some paper in it, and boxes to the side, and broken down cardboard boxes, and they're just an awful lot of material that is convenient for the homeowner to dispose curbside. You're asking us to vote for something that's convenient for the town, and I feel that the homeowner, the people of this town, should stand up for their rights and vote for something that's convenient for them, not something for the town.
At the yellow microphone.
Hey, Sanjeev Reed Singhani, 9 Pinewood Hills in Long Meadow. Just a question, what's going to happen to the older existing recycling bins? Are they going to be recycled? Are they going to be, what's the process there, and is it going to be
Mr. Gold.
useful for the town in any way?
Yeah, they'll end up at the DPW with a whole bunch of others, and I'm sure they'll be recycled when there's no other use for them.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, Felix Ruiz, 86 Woodside Drive. I'm just curious, the current pickup is done by 2 people on a truck, correct?
Mr. Gold, you want to answer that one? And if you have a follow-up or any other questions, ask them now.
I have a
Please ask all of them now then.
So why I'm asking is because I've seen in other towns where they have 1 person per truck, and they have a truck that divides the garbage and the recycle. And it depends on what day it is, it'll go into whichever bin. So I'm just curious, are they going to be more efficient and get the trucks that can do that?
Mr. Gold.
My understanding is that our current hauler, Waste Management, on glass plastic recycling weeks, uses what's called a split truck. And actually part of it goes for recycling, part for trash. But on paper cardboard, there's so much cardboard and paper recycling in this community, they often, if not always, run 2 trucks. Clearly, part of the cost savings for the town that will be passed along to our residents because of the lower cost of this contract will come from them being able to go to a single operator in a truck that will do this totally automated.
Okay. Thank you.
Further discussion?
Steve Kennedy, 11 Western Drive again. On Western Drive, we have a scenario quite often where a truck comes by and picks up the cans, they get thrown, the commingled get thrown in the back. Mostly when we are doing cardboard and paper, there's a single operator, drives the truck, gets off the truck, throws in the paper, the cardboard, etc., and then mechanically empties the trash bin, as it were. So it doesn't seem to be one rule for every, in our case, Tuesday.
Do you have a question?
It was just a comment.
Okay. Are we ready to come to a vote? Okay. This vote requires a simple majority. The vote is now open. Five seconds left. The vote is now closed. With 153 yes, 39 no, the motion passes, majority affirmative vote. Mr. Lamb.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote, in order to comply with the Land and Water Conservation Fund Grant Program requirements, to reaffirm the town meeting votes taken pursuant to Article 14.
Did you want to say those numbers, please?
PL 88-578 requirements, to reaffirm the town meeting votes taken pursuant to Article 42 at the March 5th, 2019 annual town meeting, and Articles 19 at the May 14th, 2024 annual town meeting, to dedicate Bliss Park to park and playground purposes in perpetuity pursuant to MGL Chapter 45, Section 14.
Isn't there one more, please? That was in a draft. Thank you. The motion's been made and you may second it. You may speak to it.
The town has been awarded an $824,325 FY24 Land and Water Conservation Fund grant to renovate Bliss Park Playground. As a condition of the grant award, the town must vote to reaffirm the park and playground use for the site, benefiting from grant expenditures. Article 42 of the 2019 annual town meeting dedicated Bliss Park to park and playground purposes under Article 97 of the amendments to the Massachusetts Constitution. Article 19 at the 2024 annual town meeting affirmed the town's commitment to appropriate the sum of $1,648,649.77 or a greater or lesser sum to pay costs of the Bliss Park Playground renovation project in coordination with a 50% reimbursement grant from the Land and Water Fund Conservation Grant Program.
Recommendation from Finance Committee, please.
Finance Committee recommends Article 19.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll come directly to a vote on the motion under Article 9. This requires a simple majority. The vote is now open. Five seconds left. And the vote is now closed. With 146 yes, 9 no, the motion passes, majority affirmative vote. Article 20. Mr. Gold. It's okay.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $216,600 from the fiscal year 2025 Community Preservation Fund revenues for CPA fund balance reserves for open space, $72,200, CPA fund balance reserve for community housing, $72,200, and CPA fund balance reserve for historic preservation, $72,200.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
The Community Preservation Act, Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40B, requires town meeting to appropriate or reserve for future appropriation at least 10% of the estimated annual CPA revenue for acquisition and initiatives for each of the following three categories: open space, community housing, and historic preservation. Approval of this article will satisfy the requirement for fiscal year 2025. Currently, the fiscal year 24 state matching share is estimated at 14% of the estimated surcharge, or $70,000. Other FY 2025 estimate revenues are surcharge $500,000 and other miscellaneous revenues $152,000.
Finance Committee recommendation, please.
Finance Committee recommends Article 20.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll come directly to a vote. This requires a simple majority. The vote is now open. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. And the vote is now closed. With 149 yes, 8 no, the motion passes, majority affirmative vote. Article 21, Mr. Gold.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend its general bylaws by enacting a public tree management bylaw as Chapter 296 of the Town of Long Meadow General Bylaws for the purpose of protecting the town's public shade trees and town-owned trees on municipally owned land as written in the warrant.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
There are currently no local regulations or bylaws for the protection of public shade trees beyond MGL Chapter 87, and no formal regulations for protection of trees situated on town property, such as schools, facilities, buildings, parks, etc. The adoption of this bylaw would add protection to these trees. The bylaw would formalize permit processes for work requests to be done on town-owned trees, require tree protection zones for town-owned trees that may be impacted by construction, establish fines and mitigation measures for damages and removal of town-owned trees, providing a waiver of fines and mitigations for unavoidable damages, and define how, where, and why trees will be planted. This bylaw will also allow the tree warden to establish further rules and regulations to aid in the implementation of this bylaw, provided a public hearing is held and that has been advertised in the local newspaper.
Any further discussion?
Yep.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Mike Kirby, 81 Longwood Avenue. You know, I like trees. I have no problems with the concept of this bylaw. However, I do find it to be really burdensome and overregulated by yet another unelected town official that will be appointed by an unelected town official, principally the town manager. This person, according to what's written in the bylaws here, and as I understand it, is able to, as the tree warden, is able to change various rules and regulations of this bylaw, also able to set fees and change fee structures on this bylaw. And this person is only answerable to the town manager. I find that rather disappointing. The other aspect of this bylaw, for example, is it creates some additional confusion. There's a lot of things going on here as far as what are time spans involved, the additional expenses to residents and contractors in regards to adhering to the regulations of the bylaw and the tree warden. And also, too, as it complicates other aspects of other bylaws, principally, if I can here, the town bylaw relative to section 259-31, which determines the height, the minimum height of tree branches crossing over somebody's sidewalk. So the minimum height is 7 feet. Well, if I have a tree that's on the tree belt, ends up being a town tree, and the branches are 6 feet off the ground or 5 feet off the ground, I want to be a good steward and obey the bylaw, and I want to be able to trim my branches, the branches of the town tree, so that they don't overhang the sidewalk. Well, in order to do this, I'd have to submit a request to the tree warden and submit a fee payment, have an arborist come to my house with the plan, and have to get the tree cut, the tree limbs cut. So I'm in compliance with that section 259-31 of the town bylaws, the other bylaw. I appreciate the effort that was put into writing this bylaw, but I think that it needs to be re-examined and made a little bit more easy and less intrusive on all of us, and thereby reducing, again, more regulations in the town. So, again, I'm opposing this as it's written at this particular time.
Thank you. At the yellow microphone.
Fran Cameron, 24 Field Road. I had more of one question I had was trench permit. It doesn't specify how deep a trench. Does that mean my garden trench, or are we talking a 4-foot, like what the gas company did to ruining my front yard?
Is the tree warden available to speak on this?
Leah Grigorov, Long Meadow Tree Warden. 3 feet is what the requirement is for a trench permit, and that's under the engineering department.
Okay.
And a follow-up?
Actually, before
Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just a quick one about so in the past, the tree warden has given me advice about my young tree that is attacking the kids going to school, and had said, go ahead and do it. Would this be a change that several times a year that I need to trim the tree, I have to make an appointment?
Ms. Grigorov?
There would be a change. So I have established a permit process. It is half a sheet of paper. There is no permit fee associated. There's no additional costs. It just kind of formalizes more back and forth between the tree warden, which is, appointed by the town manager, who is somebody who is knowledgeable in tree work, and, trying to bridge that gap with residents who have these trees who, may not be making proper tree cuts, whether it's harmless or typically always harmless. So it's trying to, reinforce Mass General Law 87, which says nobody at all should be touching public shade trees other than a tree warden, kind of providing that buffer to allow some leeway and just, make sure there's guidance there.
Thank you. At the green microphone, please.
Shannon Topolensky, 70 Hazelwood Avenue. After living here for the past 2 years, it is very clear that the town's trees do need our help, indeed, as all of the other things we have spoken to tonight. This sounds like a good progress, and I am voting yes for it because I lived on the streets that were affected during the last storms that we had by tree belt trees, and so I am very glad to hear that people will be paying more attention to them. Thank you for that.
Thank you. At the red microphone, please.
Yes, my name is Jim Moran. I live at 48 Avondale Road, and I'm opposed to this article. I think 10 pages of new regulations that bring in lots of fines and directives about what we do with our town trees is a little overdone. I read one part of this bylaw that talks about if you have any construction activity within 50 feet of a town tree, you have to submit a plan about how that tree might be affected. I would expect that includes driveways, any kind of landscaping. I'm not really sure how that applies, directly, but I see those kinds of things as difficult things to manage. From a town point of view, I suspect we have one agent in town that deals with enforcement, and that's Leah. And she's going to be pretty busy. I'm also think there's other things we ought to be doing in town about our trees that ought to be in this bylaw. For example, I walk around my neighborhood, maybe a path of 1.5 miles, and I see at least 35 diseased crabapple trees that are about ready to fall down. But I'm told that they're not my trees. The property owner has to make an application to have it inspected. I think the town needs to do more diligence in looking at that rather than creating all these bylaws that basically put other things at risk. So thank you very much. I oppose this article.
Thank you. Next.
Jay Turnberg, 155 Blueberry Hill Road. Actually, my concern is from the last speaker who brought up the fact that the bylaws as written are going to be an extreme burden on the town. It's an overreach. The 50-foot construction site means that if you have to put in a new driveway, you have to submit a site plan. You want to put new siding on your house, you have to put in a new site plan. This construction isn't defined, and there are a lot of trees, and they're great trees, but many of them are going to be within 50 feet of construction projects on a house. And every single one of them is going to have a site plan. I think the bylaws need to be rewritten and examined of the reality of the situation. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, we'll come directly to a vote. This requires a simple majority. The vote is now open. Five seconds left. And the vote is now closed. With 66 yes, 82 no, the motion fails. Majority negative vote. Article 22.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend General Bylaw, Chapter 215-6, unnecessary noise, and to renumber existing subsections 215-6A and 215-6B to 215-6B and 215-6C respectively, to accommodate the aforementioned additions as written in the warrant.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
Enforcement authority is not identified in this bylaw, and traditionally both the police department and the building commissioner have been called upon to enforce its regulations. This insertion clarifies enforcement authority, but also allows the building commissioner to delegate enforcement to the code enforcement officers.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll come directly to a vote. This requires a simple majority. The vote is now open. And the vote is now closed. With 110 yes, 16 no, the motion passes, majority affirmative vote. Article 23.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to delete General Bylaw 242 temporary signs related to events and elections.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
Town Council has informed us that bylaws or regulations governing the content and placement of signs are largely unenforceable, except for provisions around placement for public safety, protecting sightlines and intersections, for example, which is already covered by Section 315-62, Placement Standards, Sign Height. For that reason, we are recommending deleting these provisions entirely from the general bylaws and instead relying solely on Section 315, Article 9 of the zoning bylaws to govern signs, which was updated at the May 14, 2024 annual town meeting to include any important provisions from this general bylaw.
Question, please. Oh, one moment. Try again. Sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, Estelle Jordan. I live 756 Long Meadow Street. My question is, by deleting this specific general bylaw, will this allow companies like realtors or people who like to post their tax sale signs more, or would it prevent them from posting it? And the reason I ask is the place I live is it's head of Williams, so a lot of traffic there, and I had numerous people wanting to put their election, their tax sale sign, their real estate sign, but as a resident, I just wanted to keep neutral, away from any attention, and I constantly have to take a picture and send it to either the person who is running the tax sale or the realtor to stop putting their sign in front of my house. So I just want to know, will this prevent it?
Thank
or
you.
it will allow it more?
I'm going to ask for the assistant town manager to address this question. I'm sorry, Corinne Meissy-Munz?
Hi, Corinne Meissy-Munz, Assistant Town Manager and Director of Planning. At our previous town meeting, there was a vote to move most of the substantive components of this general bylaw into the zoning bylaw that regulates signs. We had two bylaws that both regulated signs in similar ways. So what was remaining in this general bylaw, sorry, is someone talking? What was remaining in this general bylaw was primarily regulations around political signs and temporary events. So our zoning, by deleting this bylaw, there will be, in our zoning bylaw, I don't think that there's currently any regulations regarding political signs or signs for events, but there are regulations regarding the square footage of signs that you can have in your yard and also the types of signs. One of the reasons that we brought this change forward to this town meeting is that the regulations that are left in the general bylaw that we have right now, we have had opinions from multiple town councils over the years that those are largely unenforceable as is. So we are attempting to get rid of any general bylaw that would be tenuous for us to enforce moving forward, and we have all of the strong sign regulations in the zoning bylaw. Regarding your particular question, it's not clear to me if people are putting signs in your personal property or if they're putting them on the tree belt, like town property in the right-of-way in front of your home. The signs in public property, so on the tree belts and et cetera, that's actually regulated by a select board policy, which would be unaffected by deleting this general bylaw. That would still be unallowed unless given express permission by the town manager or the select board. And if they're doing it on your personal property, that's up to you to give them permission, and then that would have to follow the sign bylaws that's in the zoning bylaw. I hope that's clear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll come directly to a vote. This requires a simple majority. Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. The vote is now open. And the vote is now closed with 136 yes, 9 no. The motion passes, majority affirmative vote. Article 24, Mr. Gold.
Madam Moderator, I move the town vote to amend General Bylaw 259, Streets and Sidewalks, and to renumber existing subsections 259-20 through 259-33 to 259-21 through 259-34 to accommodate the aforementioned additions as written in the warrant.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
Enforcement authority is not identified in this bylaw except in some subsections which name the building commissioner. Establishing the building commissioner and their designees as the de facto authority for these regulations will cement their authority to issue fines and violations.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll come directly to a vote. This requires, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Hold on. Yep.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Maybe I should be over with the yellow microphone, but sorry to beat a dead, Mike Kirby, 81 Lawnwood. Sorry to beat a dead horse on the trees, but the bottom portion of this section 259-31 states that any pruning or removal of a public shade tree done other than by the tree warden or the designee must be permitted by the tree warden as specified by the most recent version of the Town of Long Meadow Tree Management Bylaw, which was just defeated. So is that section going to be removed, or do you understand where I'm
Yes,
coming from?
but we are on article, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm sorry, we were on 20.
We're on 24.
Wishful thinking, jumping ahead to 25.
Okay. All right, now if there's no one ready to, we'll vote on Article 24. This requires a simple majority. The vote is now open. Five seconds left. And the vote is now closed. With 114 yes, 12 no, the motion passes. Majority affirmative vote. Now we get to Article 25. Mr. Levine.
I move that the town vote to amend General Bylaw, Section 259-31, shrubbery, with new language being underlined and language to be deleted, shown with a strike-through as written in the warrant.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
These draft amendments were developed in response to concerns identified at the May 6, 2024 meeting of the Select Board. At this meeting, the tree warden presented draft tree protection regulations, and the board discussed ways in which enforcement procedures for Section 259, Article 3, trees and sidewalks, and for the proposed tree regulations, as yet unadopted, needed to reference each other.
Any further discussion?
Okay. Mike Kirby, 81 Lawnwood. So my question still stands on Article 25 then, where it specifies the new town bylaw. So is the specification at the end of 259-31, is that reverting back to whatever regulations we had for the tree trimming, or?
Mr. Levine?
There's a huddle over there.
Well, I'm asking you.
I'm waiting for the huddle to finish.
Okay. You don't have an answer, then you're waiting. So
I will wait for them.
So if you want to answer the question, you can stay there, or you can move and we'll get somebody else.
I may have asked a good question.
It's coming soon.
It just appears to me that, this last portion was, they were probably taking for granted that that the bylaw, the new bylaw proposed that was just rejected was going to be approved.
I think we've got your answer. This is Corinne. Are you going to address this? Can you address this?
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I raised this question because it's keeping us here even longer.
You can tell that to Josh. Yep. Okay.
I believe the town would entertain a motion to take no action on this warrant article.
Okay, so you don't, so here's the thing. You don't have the answer to the question, so you're making a motion to take no action instead. Is that correct?
Can I make that motion?
You sounds like you just did.
So moved.
So it's been made and seconded. Do you want to speak to why you're taking no action on this?
To further revisit the bylaw, because it's referencing a bylaw that wasn't passed, that doesn't exist.
So, the motion to take no action will come before any main motion. If the motion to take no action on this fails, we'll come back to that main motion. So this is, you ready? All right. This is a motion to take no action. It's been made and seconded. All those in favor of taking no action on Article 25, press yes. Those opposed, press no. The vote is now closed. We are voting yes to take no action, 122 to 6 no. Hold on one moment, please. Majority affirmative vote to take no action. In seeing no action being taken, unless there is an affirmative motion, we shall come directly to the next article. Thank you. Noting that no action has been taken, Mr. Levine, Article 26.
I move that the town vote to delete General Bylaw, Section 280-7, removal of vehicles interfering with snow removal, and replace in its entirety as written in the warrant.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
The town's current bylaw does not speak to who can declare a severe weather emergency. This bylaw change will authorize the DPW director or designee to declare a severe weather emergency. The current bylaw states that the DPW will order a vehicle towed and keep record of vehicles towed. The current practice is that the police department would issue a ticket for a vehicle impeding operations during a severe weather event and order the vehicle towed. The police department keeps a list of vehicles towed and handles the administrative end of the process. This bylaw change will codify the current practice and delete the out-of-date, no longer followed practice.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll come directly to a vote. This requires a simple majority. The vote is now open. No, I can't see the timer. 5 seconds left. The vote is now closed. 112 yes, 4 no. The motion passes. Majority affirmative vote. Not that one. That one down at the end. Article 27, Mr. Levine.
I move that the town vote to amend the town zoning map as it appears in the warrant to reflect the affirmative results of Article 5 at the May 14th, 2024 annual town meeting by depicting new boundaries of the business district after adding the 916 William Street property to that district.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
While the vote to change the zoning designation of 916 William Street to RA1 to business, Article 5 at annual town meeting 2024, was affirmative, the Massachusetts Attorney General's office has informed the town that language should have been included to allow the town to update the zoning map to reflect this change. This warrant article rectifies that omission.
I need the planning board recommendation, please. Mr. Gunn?
Thank you. Planning board voted unanimously to recommend this warrant article.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we shall come directly to a vote. This requires a 2/3 vote. The vote is now open. That last computer screen so I can see how much time is left. Oh. Thank you. Five seconds left. The vote is now closed. With 127 yes, 5 no, the motion passes by a 2/3 majority affirmative vote, I so declare. I guess I don't have to declare it if we have a count every time. Just have it. Article 28, Mr. Levine.
I move that the town vote to amend the town zoning bylaw, Section 315-4, definitions with new language being underlined and language being deleted, shown in strike-through as written in the warrant.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
In the proposed revisions, the meaning of the definitions does not change, but the language is clarified to be more specific and clearer.
Mr. Gunn, for the planning board?
Regarding Article 28, the planning board recommends unanimously.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will come directly to a vote. This requires a 2/3 vote. The vote is now open. Five seconds left. And the vote is now closed. With 123 yes, 3 no, the motion passes majority 2/3 declaration. Affirmative. Article 29. Mr. Levine. Yep.
Sorry. I move that the town vote to amend the town zoning bylaw, Section 315-17, uses in residence zones, with new language being underlined and language being deleted, shown in strike-through as written in the warrant.
Motion's been made and seconded. You may speak to it.
These proposed revisions to Section 315-17, uses in residence zones, are intended to clarify their existing provisions to ensure that they are enforceable.
Thank you. Mr. Gunn, for the planning board recommendation, please.
Okay. Warrant Article 29 is recommended unanimously by the planning board.
Thank you. At the yellow microphone, please.
My name is Sydney Reevy. I live at 36 Dennis Road. I move to amend the main motion to preserve the word natural, keeping the proposed underlined language to ensure the vehicle is not visible from a public way intact. Natural screening.
Thank you. Hold on one moment. This motion to amend has been put in writing and sent to me previously. I have this in writing. Is there a second? There is a second. You may speak to it, Ms. Reevy.
Natural screening is more in keeping with preserving the natural beauty that gives Long Meadow its unique character. Long Meadow's natural beauty was one of the main reasons we chose to move here 38 years ago, and we have lived in our home on Dennis Road for 38 years. It was only a few days ago that we learned that a mobile home was going to be parked directly across the street and that our new view would be of that mobile home. We were more than surprised that this type of use was permitted in Long Meadow, but that issue is not before us tonight. The only Band-Aid to minimize the visual offensiveness of the motorhome is that it be set out in the bylaw as it exists, requiring natural screening sufficient to ensure that it is not visible from a public way. One reason stated as to why the board has moved to strike the word natural as it existed in the law for many years is that the existing language doesn't define natural. I think it's commonly understood and is defined in other towns as plant materials such as shrubs, trees, or plants that will provide for a dense year-round screen and provide adequate growth to obscure any view. As stated in these bylaws, this would include screening from all views. Removing natural screening would leave fencing as the alternative. We argue that fencing sufficient to screen a motorhome would be equally aesthetically offensive as the motorhome itself. 10 to 12 foot high fencing sufficient to conceal a motorhome would create billboard-sized walls whose blank facades through the town would progressively erode property values and compromise its unique beauty for which it is so loved and admired. I urge the town to vote for the yes on this amendment and require natural screening to ensure the vehicle is not visible from a public way. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion to amend, which requires a simple majority? Seeing none, we will come directly to the motion to amend. The vote is now open. Five seconds left. The vote is now closed with 86 yes, 37 no. The motion to amend passes. We shall now come we shall now come to discussion on Article 29 as amended. If there's no further discussion, we will come directly to a vote on that motion. The vote is now open. And the vote is now, now closed. 107 yes, 17 no. The motion passes as amended, 2/3 affirmative vote. Before I accept a motion to dissolve, I just want to make a quick note that Fire Chief Dearborn has been my partner in crime at these last several town meetings, and I understand he is no longer going to be that fire chief. And so I would kindly ask you all to give a warm thank you to Fire Chief Dearborn. Thank you. And a welcome to Chief Rigney. Now, is there a motion to dissolve? Made, seconded, all in favor, say yes. All opposed, no. Motion passes, majority affirmative vote. Have a good evening. I declare the meeting dissolved. 10:09.